Hello? Hello. Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to the start of another week. Tonight we continue with part 6 of our Rise and Fall of Napoleon series. We're going to be flying some helicopters around Paris with a mad route that we're going this way, then we're going that way. Finally going the other way. But I'd like to welcome you all in. Hope your day is going well. Yes, it is Monday. Monday. Yes, the start of the week on this December 29th. I had to check the date. Right. But hope you're all, enjoying the time off, if you have time off over the holiday period. You're looking mighty, do you know? And, well, tonight, this is a... right, we'll see how this goes out. Model Matson's great crack. We'll see what happens here, right? Fingers crossed. But anyway, Napoleon, we left him off last week back in Egypt. And well, tonight we ramble into 1799 and Napoleon Bonaparte returns to France, and he doesn't arrive as a man continuing a career. He's arriving as a man returning from the dead. This is what makes all this a little bit interesting. You see, tonight we're going to cover an awful lot of ground here. You're talking from 1799 all the way up to about 1808. There's quite a bit of ground to cover as we check out an absolute ton of different landmarks in and around the city of Paris. So when Napoleon arrives back, well, Paris believe him to be lost, consumed by Egypt, erased by the sea, yet another brilliant general swallowed by the overreaching... what's the word? Aspirations of trying to make a name for himself. But then, without warning, he steps back into the capital and he finds a nation exhausted, frightened, and quietly searching for someone to end the revolution without betraying it. This episode will follow what happens next. Not a single coup, but more of a transformation of what happens to France, but also to that of Napoleon. From general to ruler, from saviour to system, from republic to something far more dangerous. As we move through France on the brink, politically paralysed, economically broken, and traumatised by a decade of upheaval, we watch as Napoleon navigates that chaos with patience, calculation, and astonishing speed. Power doesn't fall into his hands. It accumulates slowly, legally, almost politely. But stability has a cost. As order returns, opposition fades. As peace settles in, ambition grows. The Republic survives in language, even in its spirit thins. Titles return, symbols multiply, and Europe begins to realise that there's no longer a revolutionary state trying to survive. It is that of a personal system being built around one man. And beyond France, well, the world doesn't stop either. Britain remains unconquered, the sea remains closed, coalitions reform, and empires watch and wait. We'll trace Napoleon from the first consul all the way up to being emperor, and the moment when the revolution legitimacy gives way to imperial permanence, and the subtle shift from momentum to overconfidence. There's, as I said, a lot of ground to be covered, but we'll ease our way through it, right? We've learned so far in this series, Napoleon, his birth back at Corsica, growing up in Ajaccio, moving on then into France. He got his education and then he got his first posting. And then, of course, he went off and he made himself very famous working down in Italy and then out to Egypt. But everything wasn't as wonderful as we thought it would be. And there's quite a bit that happens between the end of the Egypt campaign all the way until what happens next in Paris. So we'll try and get through it and see what happens, right? That's all we can kind of do. But we've it's a mad flight plan. So we're here in the Cow and Sim, the H125, based on the old Eurocopter, which is now Airbus, and model matching seems to be working great. Brilliant. We'll have to press some buttons, but we'll see how we get on. And our flight tonight, all chopper flying, checking out all the different POIs in and around Paris. It's using native scenery, so we shouldn't have to worry about add-ons or any of that jazz. And we'll take this one as we kind of see it. I think there's 14 POIs along the way. Different things. So maybe you're vested in our story of Napoleon, or maybe you just like some virtual tourism. Well, tonight we'll definitely get you covered with some of the things and the stuff, you see. But anyway, look, who's here? Because it's mad and it's Monday and it's all grand now, lads. Nothing to worry about at all. Who's here? Look, Super Typhon, you're very welcome aboard. Fierce Wolf, looking fierce and wolfy, welcome aboard, my guy. Vacuum is in the house. Eamon 1973. Good day to you, sir. Oh, Eamon, you wanted the gadgets, didn't you? Remind me in about 3.5 minutes. I'll send you on them profiles. I forgot. But we'll get you sorted. North Coast Mike, good evening. CP65 is here. Captain Sickbag. Hello. Hope you're well, buddy. Retriever Neil, welcome aboard. Who else come in? Mrs. TPHI in Upside Down Land. You're very welcome in. Viper Strike is here. Flew around Arcadia National Park. Then built me new gaming PC afterwards. Won't be in the sim for a while though. Congratulations on the new PC. Come here, lads. So do you know what we started watching last night? I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Mindhunter. Ever seen Mindhunter? So I'm only 2 episodes in, but man alive, it's very good. For the thing, right? It's very good. Mindhunter. Recommend it so far. Gar Gaming, hello to everyone in Galway. Assidious is here. And The Impossible Face. Je suis Monday. Yes, you are. Good to see you. Chuck is here. Good to see you, buddy. Tarnish Mossman, a very happy Monday to you. 98 Vulcan, greetings. Stu Snape, happy 29th, as I still don't know what day it is. Good to see you, Stu. Hope you're well. Robert J56, welcome aboard. Flipper Alloy is in the house. Toto 2495. Good to see you, man. Mac Vision is here. Pete Koo, good evening. Anthony V, hope you're well. Malky Mac is in the house. Happy whatever day. Indeed, the best day. Krabby One, hello. Cracker 1963 is here in the chat. Very good evening to you. Soaring AJ. AJH, man, hope you're well. Sunjammer's here. Evening all. I hear some of you have been drinking. Do mind blowing into the bag as my car needs its tyres pumping. Wait, what? Jace Ward, good evening. Stick Figures here. Spitfire Oriev 100 is in the chat. Happy Monday to you. Commander Balosh is here. 13 months, man. Thank you very, very much indeed. He says, good evening. Model matching is on point this evening. It's gotten bad, hasn't it? Very bad. Nutty Slack, good evening. Shovel Shoes shovels in. AJH John, hope you're well. Daddy Plump is here. Piper, good evening. Larry, good to see you, man. I put out the springs from my shtick. Good man yourself. APU Inspector, 16 months. Very happy Monday to you, my guy. Thank you very much indeed. Creo, hope you're well. Hello to everyone in County Mayo. Let me see. Dr. Diggler has rambled into the chat. Good to see you, man. Proby Pete, good day from Arizona. Mr. Minimite is here. Norris Viking Gaming, happy Monday. Andy64. Welcome in, Andy. Hope you're well, man. Murph is on the violin. He's very good on the violin. Absolutely. Cyrus T, the man of teal, has been kryptonited with man flu. Poor old devil. Get on the lemsip. Drop a honey. Change your life. Keep well. Wrap up. Sim Guy, good to see you. 9 months, man. Thank you very much indeed for all your support. Jesus, lads, the support tonight has gone bananas. Photos by Kev is here. Happy Easter. Yes. Hope you're well, Kev. You're looking well. Won't mention what day it is. Muse Fan is here. He says, how he is his mad jokes. Happy Munchuenter for Sunday. Do you know, Muse, I was trying to come up with a way to address every single day of the week in one name. It's a week. We'll just call it a week. It's good to see you, man. Let me see here now. Hermit Something, very good afternoon to Boston. Hope you're well. Nighthawk, good evening. Where's this now? Afternoon, everyone. Look forward to all these planes imitating helicopters. Yes. Model matching will be on point, indeed. Cy120, bonsoir. Monsieur, hope you're well. DK Funfly is here. Jan Moorkamp, did everyone survive Christmas? In Bijani then we did. It's good to see you, Jan. Hope you're well. Where is this now? Bawetta is here. I see your title references Napoleon. Are we talking about Napoleon Dynamite? Gosh, no, the other one, the actual Napoleon Bonaparte or Bonaparte. But Napoleon Dynamite, great movie. We probably would get a series out of Napoleon Dynamite as well, but anyway, Willow, how much? Glad to see you, and to you. Let me see now. Where's this one? Buttons. I just got Chase playing for both 2020 and 2024, and you're loving it. Still playing, but it changes everything in terms of immersion. Oh yeah, Chase playing is awesome. It really is. Sean Dale, very good evening to you. Hope you're well. Murph got an auto cue, and I always had it. I can't remember half the stuff I'm supposed to say, so I look into this little box here in front of me, and it is an auto cue. Look, it's that little box there under the light. See the light? Yeah, well, under the light is a magical box, and my camera's in behind it. Jesus, don't. Right, that's enough of that camera. Brilliant. Apache, very good evening to you. Hope you're well. I must be related to Napoleon. I'm negotiating chaos every day. That's what you want to be doing. Zybok Doc calling from Denmark. Hello from Tipperary. By the way, it's only 4 degrees here, right? And they're saying next week it's to get down to well into the minus figures. -6, -7. -6. It's going to be like cold as balls, lads. So we need to, warm up. Febro, good evening. Mrs. TPHI with a 10-month upside down subscription. Thank you very, very much indeed, Mrs. Hope you're well. Crafty Tigers, good evening. Goblin Zeus, good evening. DeBlaze is in the house. Good to see you, man. Let me see. Eddie is here. Hey up. Hope you're well. Winkle Gassler, good evening. Where is this now? My next river cruise is booked today from Basel to Amsterdam up the Rhine, says Photos by Kev. That sounds lovely. Bazo. Max Stallion, very good evening. Faku is here. Have a wonderful week. You too, man. You too. Murph, have you watched Landman yet? Landman? I don't think so, no. Any good? Flying tonight. But the days have merged into one big choc fest. Indeed, yes. Boxes of chocolates and sweets and biscuits. Brilliant, right? It was the river cruise for 64 gig. Wait, it was a river cruise or 64 gig of RAM. Right? The price of RAM. Idle Cutoff is here. Cambridge calling. Hello from Tipperary. You're looking well. Fornax, thank you very much indeed for your 39 months. Man is a legend. Thank you very much indeed. My audio sounds a bit funny, doesn't it? No more. If you sound the same Egypt that you sound. But I had my headphones turned down. It's all right, lads. I fixed it. There's a button. But anyway, where are we? We're over here. Heapster, good to see you. I'm Pierce, welcome aboard. Muttley is in the house. Velo is here. Scorpio49 has rambled in with a tier 1 sub for 58 months, a glass of Merlot, and a box of chocolates. Scorpio49, thank you very, very much indeed. Happy Christmas, man. Hope you're well. Briggsy, good evening. Finally got to use my MCDU after not being able to open it for weeks, as it was a Christmas present. Oh, that must have been difficult. Congratulations, man. Wills, 1985. Good evening, Wills. Hope you're well. Hammer Nails is here. Happy New Year in the future. Indeed, indeed. In a box, man. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. You're looking well. Do you know? Martel, good evening. My scales didn't survive Christmas. Right? Yeah, we all need new scales. Don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but our supermarkets in Australia have got hot cross buns out for Easter. Wonderful. We all like the hot cross buns. Sure, they're great. Murph, where can I get the Moza 172 and the heli profiles? Eamon, good man, I'll give them to you here now. We're supposed to be getting snow on the chilly things around New Year's, says the Impossible Face. Feeling it already? It is cold out. We've been in the -6 degrees temperature for weeks now, says Hammer Nails. Jesus. Lear, good to see you, Lear. You're very welcome aboard. P.S. Morandi, hello there. Saw you earlier on Chewy Stream. Good to see you, buddy. It's great. Billy Bob Thornton. Landman. Bowetta. I need to look into that. Super Ty says, -3 here feels like nothing to me, but Windy TV predicts a day next month to be -22 at night. Jesus. One Fly Air, very happy Monday to you. In a box, man, 3 in a row, dude. Thank you very much. Sumner, welcome aboard. He says, looking forward to your next lesson. Indeed. Wait, what? Wait, the best bit. The travel agent was called Sybil. You're joking. So the Faulty Tower, Faulty Towers. So Basil and your one's name is Sybil. That's fantastic. Brilliant. Sybil! I got a new scale. Good man, CP. Mr. Paulie, good evening. Colonel Fork is here. That's who pressed the button. See? He doesn't even have to say hello. He just kind of shuffles in. Shh. And then he presses buttons. Hope you're well, man. Hope you're well. Our route here this evening is a bit mad. I'll show you what it looks like here on Navigraph in a moment, lads. But who else came in? The Threshold 4K Gaming. Welcome aboard, man. Let me see. Dave Cleary. Legend Dave. Welcome in, Dave. Good to see you, buddy. Uniform Goose. Good day, Goose. Virtual Flight Diaries is here. Waylon Chutani. Bonsoir. Boeing is in the house. Angels 15. Good day. Vivid Clarity. Welcome aboard. The Crystal Super Micro OLED is amazing. I've heard it's supposed to be great. I was watching one of Steve's videos, and I have the Crystal Light. Does the job now, but my OLED, I mean, come on. Need to try that out. But anyway, you're on the south coast of Devon. Ooh, it feels like spring. That's not a good... It's proper cold, lads. Proper cold. -4 feels like wind chill, -21. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Patrick Doyle, good evening. Hope you're well. We had 31 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, says CP. Jesus, Lance. Who's in charge of the weather? It's gone very cold. Right, buttons. One of those, yes, and one of them. Brilliant. Now, I need to kind of... What's going on with me model matching? There's like literally a plane upside down on top of the hangar, and then there's fixed wing aircraft surrounding us all over the place. This is going to be a great night, friends. Yes. Let's see what happens. Where is this now? These would be the same people in the summer saying it's hot. Yes, of course it is. Timothy McGee, hope you're well, buddy. You're very welcome in. Right, Navigraph, let's be having you. What's the key bind for night vision goggles on 2024, says Mac Media? N, I think? Or you just have to bind one yourself, I think. Riot. Now, where am I? I'm over here. What am I doing? New flight, Spanish Point. Would you get out with that? Here's what we're doing, friends. We'll turn off these charts and just go to world map here for the minute. Riot. This is how it's all kind of looking. World map or satellite? That's better. And we'll do one of these. Yes. And get rid of those and that. Yeah. Right, this will make life look a little bit easier. So we're on the ground here at Paris Orly, Lima Foxtrot Papa Oscar. And from here, lads, it's a bit of a mad one. It's up down, left, right, over the road, back behind the road, not even touching the road. So we have a number of waypoints. Now, the flight plan is available over on our Discord if you want to grab it from there. If not, just follow the group. So we're going to be starting off from LFPO. We're going to be rambling up to our starting point, which is the Eiffel Tower. Now, the Eiffel Tower wasn't exactly there back then, but don't worry about that for the moment. We're going to use that as our first visual reference point, and we'll start the run, if you like, from there, right? So from the Eiffel Tower, we're going to head down over to the École Militaire, the military school. Then it's over to the... it used to be the military hospital of Les Invalides, but it's actually where Napoleon's tomb is located. From there, it's over to Pont Alexandre over the bridge. Then it's over to the Place de la Concorde. Then we have the Tuileries Gardens down to the Louvre. Then we have the Palais Royal, or the Royal Palace. Then it's over to the Place of Vendôme, the Opera Garnier. Then we have the Place de la Madeleine, Champs-Élysées, or, you know, Champs Islets, Arc de Triomphe. From there, we're going to head back down the Seine, all the way down to the Notre Dame Cathedral. Then is the Ile Saint-Louis and Hotel de Ville. Then, friends, it's a long old 5-mile flight only over to Saint Claude National. From there, we head her up the road over to the Ruelle Malmaison, right? That's where Josephine lived, right? Then, friends, we're going to head all the way down to Chateau de Sciau. I don't know how to pronounce it. As we continue back over Orly, all the way down to here, the Chateau de Fontainebleau, the Blue Fountain. That's where Napoleon lived. That was his like out of the city pad, right? Then all the way back up to the Palace of Versailles, and from Versailles we ramble back into Orly. How much further to fly to Le Mans? Well, Le Mans is down this neck of the woods over here. Look. Le Mans. It's a good shot away. But let's see what happens. Kanzui, I'm here in an alternate dimension. That's right, I'm watching the vertical stream, which includes a permanent handy cam. Ooh! Go on yourself, Kanzui! Good to see you, man. So yeah, it's a bit of a mad flight, but it's all about taking our time, and I've lots to talk about tonight, because the transition period, as I said, is from around 1799 all the way up to 1808, and a ton of stuff happens. But we can cover it all from where we're going and what we're doing. But hopefully it'll give you a good indication or inclination of what Napoleon was all about. I mean, we've seen him from his early days, his first kind of, you know, battles. Then he goes on the campaigns, right? Then he goes to Egypt, and things don't necessarily go terribly well for him in Egypt. Enter one Horatio Nelson. Right, so at the moment, France is very much on the scale. It's either, you know, new from revolution, but not at all, you know, accepted as a nation, and it's teetering between either utter destruction or lots of greatness. And of course, we have other opportunistic empires and countries around the neck of the woods, mainly with the Austrians, but we'll also see some interest tonight coming in from the Russians. And what does that entail under one of the Tsars? You see, I've been in Paris in 2015, visited the Napoleon Museum. Nice. I never realised how much you talk with your hands. Right, it's sign language, Kanzui, where we do things, you know, with me. Right. Jesus, you're having to go with my hands now. But anyway, that is the flight plan. I'm going to have to keep that somewhere handy now, right? Because if I lose it, sure, we're all in trouble. Now, let me see. So we'll put that over there on the screen beside us. And as I said, with the information that we have, we've quite a bit to go through. But who's that up on the hill, look? Just Tom. Ah, Jesus. He was doing it the other day, you know, with his avatar. Now he's doing it with a friggin' aircraft, just kind of hiding there, looking at us. Do you know what I mean? Northland Air, very good evening. Hope you're well. Yeah, model matching, I'm hoping, is going to be, you know, a little bit better than this. I might have to give it an L restart, lads, because I don't think we're all in, you know, large fixed-wing aircraft. What do you reckon? So let's do a quick change here on our model matching and see what happens. So online, simplified, high fidelity, number one. Multiplayer off, multiplayer on. And let's see what happens here, right? So we'll allow things load back in. Hopefully I don't get some sort of a CTD or whatever, and we'll see what happens. Speaking about Napoleon, I'll be in Ajaccio in April. Oh, that's awesome, Viper. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Awesome. Right, notes, for which we have many. So, as I said, Paris at the time, when he was in and around Egypt, well, they didn't think he was coming back, right? So, to Paris, they've already lost Napoleon, right? That seemed to fix the model matching. So Paris had already buried Napoleon, not necessarily by funeral, not with ceremony, but of course emotionally, which in revolutionary France was often far more final. For months, rumours drifted through the cafes and salons like smoke that never quite cleared. The Corsican general, last seen marching east into sand and mirage, had vanished from the world of consequence. Some said he died of the plague, others that the desert swallowed him whole, and a few insisted that the British had killed him quietly and buried the truth beneath the waves. It felt plausible. Egypt had been a gamble, a strange one, romantic, theatrical, dangerously ambitious, and France had learned the hard way what happens when ambition sails too far from home. When the news of Admiral Nelson's victory at the Nile reached Paris, it landed like a hammer blow. The fleet destroyed, the army stranded, the hero marooned, and at the edge of civilization. History, it seemed, had finally caught up with him. Then, in October 1799, Napoleon walked back into France. No warning, no announcement, no trumpet blast, just a man stepping ashore, moving north as if nothing extraordinary had happened at all. When Napoleon entered Paris on October 16th, the reaction wasn't just relief and, great. Paris erupted. Crowds surged into the streets as if pulled by gravity, and people climbed lampposts, windows flew open, hats were thrown into the air, women wept openly, men shouted his name like a prayer, and it wasn't just that of a simple, he's back. This resurrected everything that Napoleon was. Paris behaved as if a myth had returned, and Napoleon understood this instantly, and he fed it. He did not explain Egypt, he didn't have to. He didn't have to defend himself. He didn't justify having to leave his army behind. He barely spoke at all, in fact. Silence, he knew, was the most powerful form of control. And the less he said, the more people filled in the gaps for him. And they did so very generously. So, let that be our pretext to what it is we're doing before we get going. But now we must get this aircraft into action and start a flight, right? Start a flight. Now, Jesus, on me cameras aren't done. So here's one for you. Here's a bonus if you want to learn chase plane. So I've imported basic views, right? But we're going to start tweaking them here now because I want to edit them for other aircraft, right? So to do this, we're just going to edit a couple of views. Something like that'll do. We're going to save that. And that's numero uno. Lovely. Number 2, we're going to come down to number 2. We're going to adjust this and we're going to look at this camera down here at our collective. That'll do her there. And we're going to save that. Lovely. Number 3 is our GPS. We're going to move this guy in and we'll look somewhere. Let's have a look. We'll look somewhere like that. And we shall save the position. Lovely. So we should have a 4 and a 6, which we do. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 7. You're miles off, so that's going to be hard mounted. That's our dash cam. We're going to edit or adjust this, right? And I want to put this somewhere handy. So let's say, I don't know, I think that's a decent dash cam to have there. So there's number 7. Lovely. Number 5 was next. Action cam. So we're going to adjust where this guy lives. Thinking somewhere here could be kind of half decent. What do you reckon, lads? That's an interesting perspective. Yes. And then we have 8, which should be our, what do we call this one? Left wing, but it's not a wing, we're in a helicopter. So we'll go to here, save. We'll go to 9, right wing, come back a bit. And save. And that'll do us. Okay, my cameras are set up, we're good to go. So, to get some power into this machine, we're going to start off with the battery. Battery coming on, fuel pump on. Generator off at the moment. Anti-collision lights. Get the rotor horn turned on. These are all our main landing lights. We have some throttle. Idle to the left, power to the right. Hydraulics are all okay. Landing lights are off. These are internal temperatures. That's all grand. Looking up on top here, we have our engine start, and we also have our test. We're going to go engine start. Start switch has been acted on. Have some lights here. Turn those off. Wasting electricity. There we go. And now, my friends, we wait. So we can see that we have some torque rising, N1 rising. I'm going to introduce some fuel here as well. Kubi Montana, very good evening to you, buddy. Hope you're well. Okay, so there's the horn blasting, that's okay. Get more throttle in. Easy now. Why is my helicopter doing this? Right. Does anyone know what's just happened? Any ideas? Whoa, Betsy. Right. Let's not panic altogether. Let's go to settings. Let's double check our controls are indeed working. Let's see.
It's not the plane. It's the pilot.
I don't know who it was. Oh, look, these are all reset. Oh, hang on. Right. Don't worry, lads. I'll fix all of this. There's multiple imports coming in. I don't know. Whoa. Pendular rudder. Get out of that. TTM heli. Oh, this is hilarious, crack. Mongoose. TTM heli. Shtick. TTM heli. And then everything else should be just tickety-boo. Right. Save him back. Resume. What's going on? Does someone know what's happening? What is actually going on? Cow and Sim, sort out your fleet, will you? Let's try this again. Whoa, now. She sounds better now, doesn't it? Oh, look, she's moving. Why is it moving? I've no power put in. Okay, I can 100% be certain this did not happen earlier. Let's see. It seems to be a problem with the throttle, look. Okay, she seems stable. So let's see what happens now. Pedo comes on. Bloody hell. Generator comes on. And turn on the avionics. Anyone have that happen to them before? Banjax does right. Right, we seem to be alive here, so we'll say nothing for the minute. Over limit detected. Yeah, well, should we know that? Now, is this shagged, I wonder? Exit. Press reset. Right. Fingers crossed, everything's now going to work. Come on down here, get our landing lights on. Right. Totally screwed up earlier as well. Willow, what happened, like? Alright, let's see if it behaves. I mean, it looks and sounds alive, right? So I suppose we're going to have to find out the hard way. Turn on some head tracking. There we go. And sure, we'll see what happens here, lads, will we? Left and right. Alright, bit of collective coming in. On the anti-torque pedals. Easy now. Easy now. Alright, watch that power. Easy. Easy. Is this going to be flyable? We're going to find out now in a second. It seems okay. Starting to smooth out a little bit. Easy. Alright. 'Tis working now. A little bit better. That was a lot of excitement there for the first couple of minutes. Willow, how much says no idea, but pretty much the same as you. Okie dokie. Well, sure, look, it's alive now. Now, let's see if we can calm it down a little bit more, right? It is alive. So we just need to take our time here and see what we're doing, right? In terms of, like, level flight and all the jazz. There's our sounds back. Jesus. The sounds of the other aircraft. It's going to throw them into space, right? So let's ease off the controls a bit. There we go. Radar altitude is screaming at me. Easing out. Alright, we're looking a bit better. Heisenberg, good to see you, buddy. Look at that for timing. Yeah, loads of fun. You're very welcome in, bud. Thank you very much for 14 months. Cheers, man. Right, how are we looking? We're looking better. We're looking better. So a little bit more power. And I just want to get the chopper to freaking stabilize, because that was just terrifying, wasn't it? Easy. Okay, that feels decent. Whoa, that doesn't feel decent. I wonder. I mean, Cowan do make nice choppers. I've never had issues with them like this before. Very strange, isn't it? I wonder if there's something not working right. Pedo, fuel pump grand, generator, batteries on, avionics. They're all fine. Nav is turned on. Yeah, everything's working the way we want. Taxi lights we forgot. Hydraulics are on. Interesting. Why do we have mirrors? Very handy. Well, it's there supposedly to show you the skids, right? But unfortunately, not really the case, because, well, the mirrors in Microsoft Flight Sim, they don't really act as mirrors. It's like shiny metal, do you know? Chris Van Halen, good to see you. Would you recommend using FrameGen over DLSS? I run the sim at 55. Well, I use FrameGen and DLSS, Aviation Vizoli. I use both. Alright, we're looking kind of better now. Chopper's starting to calm down a little bit. There's Fierce Wolf ahead of us. So we're going to get ourselves turned, and we want to be heading on up to our first waypoint, which of course is the Eiffel Tower. We can see it from here, so it's going to take our time and then ramble in. Speed, we don't need to go fast here. It's all about enjoying the sights. Now, because we're using photogrammetry, I would recommend a bit of altitude for this, and let's see what happens. Right, so we'll go ahead and turn on our little dashboard so we can see what's happening. There, we got some nice views, and this should be a nice little flight in and around Paris, as we try and get some trims set up here. Easy now. One advantage over the Cowan Sim 125 over Sobos is the trim, you know. All right, so we'll ease it off, and we're just going to take our time here. As I said, like, we have a lot of ground to cover, So we'll take our time as we're rambling up here, right? And we continue on with our story, with his stuff. So the catastrophe at sea, coming back from Egypt, was blurred, right? The idea being catastrophe. That's when Nelson absolutely, wiped out the fleet. The annihilation of the French fleet by Nelson was fused in public memory with a later French land victory over the Ottoman forces over at Aboukir. Two events, one narrative, one winner. So Napoleon very much came back that of a hero. He wasn't defeated. He was more of a conqueror delayed, right? Paris drank it in. They absolutely bought it, and they said, yeah, this Napoleon fella, he's brilliant. High society became intoxicated by his Egyptian odyssey. Oriental chic exploded overnight. Fabrics changed. Interiors changed. Wallpaper bloomed with palm trees and hieroglyphs. Perfumes grew heavier, spiced with imagined deserts and ancient mystery. Egypt became fashion. A place not of failure, but of myth. And if you were to look at Paris even to this day, there's loads of imitations and, gentlemen nod of the cap back to Egypt. You can see it with obelisks, there's pyramids, and even where we're heading to tonight, the Louvre, that just brand new massive glass pyramid was installed some years ago. So Paris very much fascinated and captured, if you like, by the Egyptian way, you see. Very interesting. Gun-ho Guy, good to see you, buddy. Thank you very much indeed for 2 months. Just Roy, welcome in. Good to see you, Roy. Easy now, machine. We're having loads of fun here, lads, between choppers not behaving and terrible sounds and the devil knows what else, right? But sure, listen, it could be worse. We could be in Ireland where it's raining. But anyway, the less said, the more people filled the gaps for him, as I said. He didn't have to go into why he was late, why, where's his army, why the fleet was taken out. Didn't really matter. Egypt, it was all Egypt in Paris. Of course, the awkward detail was that the Rosetta Stone had fallen into British hands. Well, that was kind of ignored. Yes, we won't mention that at all, right? Napoleon himself became something more than a general, more than even a statesman. To many, he appeared almost like a messiah, a redeemer of sorts who had wandered into exile and returned carrying destiny with him. And yet, for all the adoration, Napoleon moved carefully. He knew the danger. In revolutionary France, generals who rose too quickly were often denounced as tyrants in waiting. During the Terror, the word Caesar had been spoken like an accusation. Cromwell, like a death sentence. And a man who appeared to want power too openly, well, he was inviting the blade. Napoleon was acutely aware of one uncomfortable legal reality. He had technically deserted his command in Egypt. So what he did was something brilliant. He dressed as a civilian. He walked Paris not in uniform, but in plain clothes. He attended salons quietly, presented himself not as a conquering warlord, but as a thoughtful citizen returned from service. He listened, he smiled, and he waited. It was all theatre. Because Napoleon Bonaparte was not a civilian, he was a soldier through and through, and he always would be. Are we going to get a friggin' CTD? I tell you, Sim. Jesus. She's under pressure tonight, lads, isn't it? Isn't it? Do you know? He was just a naughty boy, yeah. He's not a messiah. But anyway, behind the careful restraint, he could see the truth with absolute clarity. France in 1799 was breaking. The Directory, that was rotting from the inside. It was corrupt, paralysed, even despised now. There were 3 coup attempts in 2 years had followed out with what little legitimacy remained. The economy was collapsing, inflation gnawed at daily life. The army was exhausted, war raged again along the eastern frontiers as Austria and Russia pressed in. France wasn't unable. It was close to being a failed state. Utter collapse. It just wasn't going to happen. The people didn't want this new ideology of, the revolution anymore. They were literally smelling the coffee and it didn't smell good. They were worried. Here's everything that we had worked for, everything that we thought we were getting rid of, all this, corruptness and bad planning, but it was now back and then some. As Napoleon watched Paris swirl around him, the adoration, the desperation, and, well, the fear, he understood something fundamental. France did not need a saviour with speeches. It needed a man who could end the revolution without betraying it. He didn't come back to resume a career. He had come back because the moment had finally arrived. And somewhere in Paris, powerful men were beginning to realise it too. Easy now, Jemima. So, the revolution had of course devoured its own architects. It buried through its ideals and staggered onward out of the habit rather than conviction. What remained wasn't a republic driven by purpose, but a nation governed by exhaustion. The Directory, which was 5 men, remember, presided over something that looked increasingly like a corpse. They hadn't even realised that this thing had died. The country that they were trying to push forward. Destined to fail. Inflation, as we said, was absolutely crazy. The paper money of the revolution, the ascent, right, had collapsed into near worthlessness. The wheelbarrows were not big enough to bring the money. Bread riots simmered, corruption was no longer whispered, and bribery greased every single layer of power. French armies were being pushed back also. The Second Coalition pressed in from all sides. Italy, Napoleon's Italy, the one that made him so famous, well, it had been lost. Germany was unstable. France felt surrounded again, humiliated again, frightened again. The revolution, that had promised stability over tyranny, now offered only instability. Now, Napoleon didn't want to overthrow the Republic. He wasn't going to come in and say, right, I'm going to sort this and overthrow it. He could see that Republic, that was collapsing all on its own. All it required was a man willing to step into the void. One of the 5 directors had already reached that conclusion. Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès, also known as the Abbé Sieyès or Sears, wasn't a soldier, easy now, chopper. He was a theorist, a survivor of the revolution who had watched it mutate from idealism into chaos, and he had written pamphlets that helped ignite in 1789 what is the Third Estate. And now, 10 years later, he had come to a dangerous realization. The system he had helped create no longer functioned. The Directory was ungovernable, Parliament was paralysed, France drifting towards anarchy or a military dictatorship. His solution was the only option: a constitutional coup. No mobs, no guillotines, no terror. The government would vote itself out of existence, a new constitution would replace it, one that was stronger, streamlined, insulated from all the chaos, and power would be concentrated, but legal. Order would be restored without bloodshed. That's what he wanted to happen. And what Sieyès needed was not a tyrant, he needed that of a sword. And who better? Well, that of Napoleon. Right place at the right time. He needed someone respected by the army, someone trusted by the people, and someone famous enough to deter resistance. Let us not forget about Grapeshot, when Napoleon first was called to kind of prove himself, right? Napoleon listened carefully. He asked questions, he took soundings, and he weighed up all the risks. He recognised that Sieyès instantly, for what he wasn't a rival, but a rung on the ladder, a man with a plan, and no means to enforce it. Napoleon knew this. He was a man who thought he was choosing a weapon without realising the weapon was choosing him. The arrangement was agreed. Napoleon would serve as the protector of Parliament, military security, insurance. Nothing more. The constitution would be written by politicians, and the power would be shared. The republic would survive, reshaped, stabilised, and purified. On paper, this was all terribly elegant, but in reality, it was naive. Napoleon didn't return from Egypt to play the role of hired muscle, and France, frightened, exhausted, and desperate, was about to help him do it. So the coup of the 18th, over at the shambles that was between the 9th and 10th of November in 1799, how does one pronounce this one, Murphy? The Brumaire, right? For several terrifying hours, it nearly collapsed into a farce or bloodshed. Well, this is what happened. On the morning of the 9th of November, Paris woke to silence enforced by, force. Bridges were guarded, troops stood at key junctions, the newspapers announced an emergency, and rumours spread faster than fact. The government, citing threats of Jacobin violence, ordered the legislature to abandon Paris entirely and relocate west to the Château de Saint-Cloud, a royal palace heavy with symbolism and safety, distance from the volatile crowds of the capital. Hey Janie, there's things. Cornwall, thank you very much indeed for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. Cheers, buddy. Hang on, I've lots of reading to do and finding a chopper, but we're still hovering around the Eiffel Tower, then we'll go moving, right? Jesus. Nearly there. But yeah, so they moved them out of Paris. It was a brilliant move. Separated from Paris, the deputies were isolated, confused, and surrounded by soldiers. And standing at the gates, unmistakable in uniform, was Napoleon Bonaparte. No longer the discreet civilian of the previous couple of weeks, but once again the soldier. Napoleon understood something fundamental about power. Appearance matters. Uniforms focus attention, grenadiers silence doubt, and he had been careful for weeks not to look like a Caesar. Today, he needed to remind everyone exactly who controlled the bayonets. And inside St. Cloud, the coup immediately split into 2. We had the Council of the Elders. The upper chamber did what Sieyès had hoped. They nodded, they accepted the logic, and they voted to dismantle the Directory and authorised Napoleon to maintain order. Then came the lower houses, the Council of 500. That's where everything went wrong. The deputies were younger, they were louder, more radical, and far more suspicious. They had not forgotten the terror. They had not forgotten how easily temporary measures turned into permanent executions. When word spread that Napoleon was nearby, in uniform, panic turned into fury. Cries erupted across the chamber. They called him dictator, outlaw, a new Cromwell, even Caesar. Napoleon, impatient and convinced his presence would help impose order, but he made a fatal mistake. He entered the chamber himself, and what followed wasn't authority, it was pure bedlam and panic. Deputies surged towards him. Men grabbed his coat, others screamed, denouncing him, inches just from his face. One deputy allegedly produced a concealed dagger and lunged a moment so charged with symbolism that later generations could scarcely believe it. It wasn't invented. Or at least, this is what came from Napoleon. It was even said that there were men wearing togas on top of their normal clothes, and the whole symbol behind this was this man, this Brutus wannabe, was going to attack Napoleon. But of course, a brave grenadier got in the way, and he took the knife wound for his general. If the army fractured, if it refused to act, Napoleon would be arrested, perhaps even killed, and the coup would collapse into another failed uprising. Then Lucien Bonaparte intervened. Lucien, who was Napoleon's younger brother, well, he was the president of the Council of the 500. Wasn't that handy? A fact that already made the day constitutionally absurd, now he turned that absurdity into salvation. He emerged from the chaos, pale but composed, and addressed the soldiers directly. He swore loudly that his brother would never betray the liberty of the French people. And he went further. He drew a sword, placed it against Napoleon's chest, and declared that he himself would strike him down if Napoleon ever turned tyrant. It was an extraordinary performance. Effectively, you had both parts of the government, the elder and the younger. The elder were, the noblemen. Yes, we agree with all of this. And then the younger, the lower houses, it just so happened that the guy in control of all of this just so happened to be Napoleon's younger brother. So that's how the whole thing kind of came to be, right? The soldiers reassured that legality, or kind of something. Grenadiers re-entered the chamber, deputies scattered, some fled through the doors, others through windows, and the Council of 500 suddenly ceased to function. The directory, already hollow, simply vanished. What followed? Well, France did not rise in defence of the Constitution. There was no mass protests, no popular uprisings, no revolutionary fury. The country had exhausted itself. 10 years of upheaval had left it numb. And not to mention, they were now outside of Paris, so all this things happening with the coup, well, word wasn't able to travel back fast enough. A vacuum opened. Napoleon, the right man at the right time, was able to step into it. By nightfall, a new provisional government was assembled, deliberately echoing ancient Rome. There were 3 consuls appointed: Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès, Roger Ducos, and of course Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, on paper, power was to be shared between the 3 lads. But in reality, as someone who had studied Caesar, had studied all these things of ancient Rome, Napoleon was the popular person. This was no equal consulship. He was the consul. First consul. That was it. Napoleon's popularity dwarfed the others. His control of the army made him indispensable, and Ducos quickly aligned himself with him. Sieyès, the architect of the coup, found himself sidelined, compensated, and told to whisht. Shh, quiet now. Then Napoleon did what he did best. He rewrote the rules. He edited the new constitution personally, line by line, clause by clause. He ensured executive power flowed upwards to him. He became first consul and then later consul for life, writing himself into the state as both sword and law. A plebiscite followed. The result, of course, 99.95% approval in favour of this new constitution written by Napoleon. And it just so happens that his brother, Lucien, just happened to be the returning officer of that vote. That's convenient. By the dawn of 1800, France now had a new head of state. Not a king, not an emperor, but something very different. Napoleon Bonaparte, aged just 30, stood at the centre of France's political universe. A man forged by war, sustained by myth, and now armed with legitimacy. It's famous saying that Napoleon said, "The revolution is over. I am the revolution." And for that moment, France believed him. He became consul. So the year now, 1800, Napoleon is the man. He's the guy. He's consul. He's in charge. Fascinating, right? Now, where are we going? I'm completely lost. So, the Eiffel Tower. Hang on now, lads. So, let us hover down towards the Eiffel Tower. And the Eiffel Tower didn't exist, of course. It was only completed in 1889. It was that to be of a science project, right? But it does work as a kind of a symbolic anchor as to what we're doing, as we're kind of focusing and concentrating on, you know, what the devil. So it turns out these controls are mapped to helicopters as well. Bloody hell. Right. So there be the Eiffel Tower. With all you lot hanging around. Doesn't that look deadly, doesn't it? Absolutely brilliant. So from here, lads, we're going to go around to a couple of these landmarks to figure out what they are and what their context and why they matter. Rex went under the Eiffel Tower. Come on yourself, Rex. So the Eiffel Tower, as I said, it wasn't there back then. It was completed, 80 odd years later. But well, we're going to check out other things. So where we're heading to now, if we follow along, right? Those buttons are pressed. Let's ramble. Oh, Jesus. I wouldn't mind, but I've done several flights in this chopper to make sure all was well, and it's just not behaving tonight. But sure, listen, it'll be alright. If we need to change... Oh no, Kladsky! If we need to change choppers, we will. But at the moment, we should be okay. So there be the Eiffel Tower. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? And this is all default. This is all part of the sim. I'm not using any custom scenery or any of that, you know? So we're going to ramble down here and try and get ourselves into another hover to see what we can see, right? And where we're flying to now, lads, the École Militaire, the military school. This is where Napoleon studied, right? So, the origin point of the mindset that now rules France is here. Remember, this is where he did his training. This is where he got his commission. This is pretty much where it all started for Napoleon. Prior to this, he had learned out in Brienne, right? He learned all about schooling and nationhood and whatnot. But it was here, just that building there, the military college or the military school, that he learned all about the military side of what would later prove him so very, very, very handy indeed, right? So let's have a look here. We'll ramble in a little bit. The chopper's fine. It's the nut holding the stick that's the problem, says Surly Dev. Are you mad? No, you want to see what I did earlier on, Surly Dev. Easy now. Now, another little button we need to press, lads. Because... controller... needs to be set for this as well. Right, so, as we're hovering... There we go. Now, photogrammetry, as I said, it's going to be classed at about 1,500 feet. When you get down a little bit lower, it starts messing up. But hopefully this is giving you an idea of all these buildings. I mean, we've mentioned a lot of these buildings, right? And here we are now in Paris, checking them all out. Pretty cool, right? And back then, of course, well, the Eiffel Tower wasn't there. So to our next waypoint, which is over here on our right-hand side, we'll ramble over to this. The Invalides, this was the military hospital. And later in life, of course, this houses the tomb of Napoleon. Easy. So let's head around this way, lads. Easy. It's a lot easier flying choppers inside. Easy now. So here we have it here. Easy. Yeah, yeah, this is all default. It's all default scenery. Alrighty. Alright, so try and hover around here for the moment. We get our bearings. It's not class looking, isn't it? So, La Invalade was where French honours its soldiers, and eventually where Napoleon himself would rest. During the consulate and empire, this was sacred ground. Loyalty, sacrifice and memory. Napoleon understood veterans mattered, not just as fighters, but also as political capital. An army that feels remembered will follow almost anywhere. Mad, isn't it? So hopefully this is helpful in terms of, you know, giving you an idea of what all these different landmarks are in and around Paris. What's the significance of them? You know what I mean? Like when you're looking at Paris, a lot of the buildings are like, it's a palace. Yeah, that's a palace. Yeah, that's another palace. You know what I mean? So we're going to leave here. And our next one then is Pont Alexandre III. Easy now. Which is that fella right there. Built later, but this was named after Tsar Alexander I, Napoleon's rival turned ally a little bit later on, right? Now, Napoleon, when he took control, when he became consul, and then later emperor, which we'll touch on in a while, he was all about building bridges. Reality and, of course, metaphorically, when it came to other nations. And Russia, don't crash them, and Russia, especially with Tsar Alexander, the name Tsar, of course, the Russians use that word, it's Caesar. That's their word for Caesar, right? He came very, he came very close, well, multiple times to beating back the Russians, because the Russians, well, they had their own interest in the Mediterranean. They had fought alongside the Austrians and so on against France. But then later, they were all right-ish about it. Russia at the time, of course, the families, the royalty, that was very much intertwined and against what France had done in terms of the French Revolution. So they were also interested and very keen to look at what went on in France in relation to uprising, revolution, and all this kind of stuff. So that bridge be that there, look. Easy now. We'll keep rambling forward. Bit more power here. Now, we want to ramble forward here a little bit because our next waypoint, lads, is the Place de la Concorde, right? And formerly Place de Revolution. The square once held the guillotine, which is just over here, look. Try and get my camera set up as best we can. Come on over this way now. And we'll get ourselves turned in. Like, the guillotine was used during the revolution and during the terror. And so many people were killed. I mean, it was engineered to say, yeah, this is sorted. This will behead them. Do you know? Kings died here. Revolutionaries died here. Napoleon understood this ground better than anyone because he knew what uncontrolled power looked like. Now, why this area here is critical, the open squares, this is where Louis XVI was executed. Nuts, isn't it? Easy now, chopper. Easy now. It's a huge city, isn't it? Class. Okay. Hayden, good to see you, buddy. Effectively what it is, place or place, effectively what it is, it's the French word kind of like for plaza, square, right? So in Italy you'd have piazza. But yeah, place. Let's go with that. Thanks, Malky. Easy now. Man alive, isn't it a huge city? So where we're drifting to now, this is the Tuileries Gardens. This is very much a space between kind of violence and power. It's where Napoleon moved cautiously at first, civilian clothing, quiet, you know, careful. He didn't seize power here with force. He waited until power was already empty. Then, of course, he stepped into the void. He walked here as first consul, then later as emperor, fully aware that the kings before him crossed in a way to execution. The Tuileries were the nerve centre of revolutionary politics. These gardens here, look. Nighthawk, that's probably the right machine to have, right? Alright, so next up, as you can see it there, is the Louvre. Now this, of course, under Napoleon, this became his own kind of political weapon. This is where he had sent all the artifacts and art and everything from all across Europe into this museum. Even called a museum after himself, Museum de Napoleon, or Musée Napoleon. Of course, later, you know, just called simply the Louvre. So that's where we're going to head to now, the Louvre Palace. So if Paris was the capital of empire, the Louvre was the visual argument. This was Europe's greatest trophy cabinet, and even to this day, it has some of the best artifacts we know of anywhere in the world. All the loot from Italy, Germany, the Low Countries, tons of stuff. So we'll try and get ourselves situated here to touch down. And again, it's the fascination with Egypt that France had. I mean, the pyramids here at the Louvre, I mean, these are a recent addition, of course, and the entire area is built on what was a much older castle and fort. So let's see if we can get ourselves into position here a little bit better. Easy. Easy. Now, if you ever get the chance to go to Paris, you got to go to the Louvre. It is phenomenally good. It's very, very good. It's a huge museum. Easy. And this is all part of, I think it was a Sim Update 6 World Update, or there was a World Update that covered all of this. Easy. Come on, Muse. Don't worry about it. Let me see. Spencer, good to see you. Easy now. Now, if anyone has two sceneries trying to load, I found that to be an issue with the sim as well. You need to deactivate, I think it's the 2020 landmark add-ons in Flight Sim for France. No idea why it was the case, it just was the case, do you know? Right, easy now, put her down there gently. Yes. Oh, Jesus, 500 feet a minute, we'll feel that. But it's just to give you an idea of where we are, look. Isn't that class? Isn't that class? Look at everyone landed there, look. Might change the time of day here as well, lads, because we don't need to be necessarily nightfall. There we go. Okay, so there we have it with the Louvre. It's very nice, isn't it? Right, now, before we move on, because we're heading up next to one of the palaces, we'll do a little bit of reading here. So, at this stage now, Napoleon is the first consul. And this is all very much a Roman kind of decree. And he did this, Napoleon did this. You know, you can see the inspiration he got from the Romans and from Alexander the Great. Like, he called it Cisalpine Gaul, or Cisalpine in Italy, right north of the Alps, this side of the Alps, that side of the Alps. And of course, even using that sort of government mechanism of consul and consulate, right? That's where it all kind of comes from. So, the Republic awoke in 1800 under a new name, a new constitution and a new illusion. France was now governed by 3 consuls, at least on paper. In practice, but we all know one man had stepped out of the shadows and into the centre. Bonaparte, he didn't seize power with a crown, he didn't get a coronation or even a proclamation of divine right. He made power look reasonable. The constitution was sold as a safeguard against tyranny, a carefully balanced machine of councils, assemblies, and executive constraint. It spoke to the language of law, of order, and republican virtue. But Napoleon himself, who edited it line by line, shaping its mechanisms with the same precision he once applied to artillery placement. The other two consuls, of course, well, they were supposed to share that authority. They never stood a chance. From the first days of the consulate, Napoleon worked longer hours than anyone else in France. He rose before dawn, he read everything, signed everything, questioned everything. The ministers discovered that appointments at midnight were not unusual, and that failure to arrive fully brief was fatal to a career. To get a good start of the day, Napoleon would often rise at midnight or 1 a.m. to start his day, right? Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Decisions no longer drifted through committees. Napoleon chaired the Council of State personally, interrogating legal drafts, administrative reforms, and financial plans with ferocious intensity. He was not content to approve ideas. He very much dismantled them, rebuilt them, and then he demanded the results. France had lived through a decade of chaos, the revolution, terror, inflation, coups, hunger. What people wanted now was not ideology, they wanted function. And Napoleon delivered. The first target was the economy because no regime survives bankruptcy. The revolutionary paper currency, the assignats, had collapsed into worthlessness. Inflation had eaten wages alive, and thrust in money itself had evaporated. Napoleon replaced chaos with something radical: credibility. In 1800, he founded the Bank of France, restoring confidence in the state's finances, and in 1803 he introduced a stable new currency, the franc germanal, anchored to gold and silver. It would remain one of Europe's most reliable currencies for over a century. For ordinary French citizens, this mattered more than constitutions. Money worked. Bread prices stabilised, wages actually meant something, they could afford things, the streets calmed down, and next came the administration. Wimmis, thank you very much indeed. Cheers, buddy. Heisenberg had a CTD. Don't worry, we'll be sitting tight here for a minute. So Napoleon replaced the revolutionary patchwork of local committees with a highly centralised system of prefects, state-appointed officials responsible for law, taxation, policing, and order in every department. Loyalty now flowed upwards, not outwards, and France became governable again, but at the cost of local autonomy. It was efficient, it was authoritarian, and after years of disorder, most people welcomed it. Then, of course, we have the church, which at this time was so very powerful across Europe. One of Napoleon's most delicate acts when he was, reconciling with the Catholic Church, well, revolutionary France had tried to erase religion altogether. France moved from a 7-day to a 10-day working week. You couldn't practice your religion. They even got rid of Christmas. Napoleon understood that something that the revolutionaries never had, faith could not be legislated out of existence. In 1801, he negotiated with the Concordant with Pope Pius VII, and Catholicism was recognised as the religion of the majority of French citizens. Public worship was restored, priests returned to their parishes, but it was no surrender. The church did not regain its lands, bishops were appointed by the state, clergy were paid by government, religion was permitted, but it was domesticated. Napoleon had not restored the old order, he just harnessed it. He brought back the 7-day working week, with Sunday being a day of rest, and he brought back Christmas. Napoleon's most enduring legacy began quietly. France had lived under a legal nightmare, overlapping feudal laws, revolutionary decrees, regional customs, and contradictory statutes. Justice depended on geography, class, and luck. Napoleon hated disorder, especially intellectual disorder. The result was the Code Civil, later known as the Napoleonic Code. It abolished feudal privilege, it enshrined equality before the law, it protected property rights, it made careers theoretically open to talent, and across Europe and far beyond, this legal framework would become the foundation of our modern civil laws. Even it's the framework, the foundation, the blueprint of what we have in European law. But the code also revealed Napoleon's limits. Women were placed firmly under male authority. Fathers ruled the households. Wives could be punished for adultery where husbands could not. Napoleon was modern, but only in ways that served for stability and control. To reward loyalty without resurrecting aristocracy, he created the Légion d'honneur, with medals, pensions, and prestige based on service rather than birth. This was the beginning of a new elite, one defined by proximity to Napoleon. While Napoleon was building a state, while his fellow consuls quietly disappeared from relevance. Sieyès, the architect of the coup, realised this far too late, that he had provided the ladder and Napoleon had climbed it. He was eased out, pat on the back, given land and money, and told to be wished. Ducos aligned himself with Napoleon, very much survived, politically neutered, but comfortable. The consulate was no longer a triumvirate. It was a facade. In 1802, Napoleon pushed through the plebiscite, making himself first consul for life. The Republic applauded, and France, once again, exhaled. So, then we're nearly done. Now we have the pause before the storm. Because, whilst all this is going on, in foreign affairs, Napoleon sought legitimacy. War had exhausted France, Britain remained defiant, but unexpectedly, out of nowhere, both sides wanted a pause. They became friends. Suddenly it was popular to be French in Britain and popular to be British in France. Napoleon and the British government signed the Peace of Amiens. For the first time in decades, Europe was at peace. Britons flocked to Paris, French tourists crossed the Channel, newspapers, who once, called Napoleon a moron, well, they started hailing him. Napoleon used the peace to consolidate power at home, reshape institutions, and prepare for something else. Now, what the British had done, they gave up the right of certain lands, they pulled back from certain areas, and there was even a decree from the monarchy in England whereby there would be the Kingdom of Great Britain and France. That was all lifted. They said, yeah, no worries, France, we now recognise you as a state, as a world power, as an equal. France, of course, they said great stuff. They gave Malta a shout and said, listen, just hand it back to the Knights of St. John there. So all the wrongdoings were suddenly becoming the right doings. And you had this massive influx of French in England and English in France. It was quite remarkable. However, it didn't last too long. By 1802, Napoleon Bonaparte ruled France absolutely, without calling himself a king. He was the first consul. He commanded the army. He controlled legislation. He shaped justice. He governed the church. He decided war and peace. And yet, officially, the Republic still existed. This was the most dangerous form of power he had ever felt. Because it felt earned, because it worked, because people believed in it, because Napoleon himself was beginning to believe something else entirely. France was too small for him. Europe was unfinished, and history had not yet caught up. The crown had not appeared, but the head it would sit on was already in waiting. So, we'll move on and get back to our story in a moment. Are you all still awake? Are you all going to sleep or something? Jesus. Where is this now? You sense the CTD soon? Yeah, right. We'll see what happens. So where we are now, we're over at the Louvre and we're going to head up to the Palais Royal, right? So let's see what happens here. CP is asleep. Someone give him a kick in the shin. Right? Now, into me chopper. Let's see what happens here that we don't, explode. Oopsie daisy. So from here, lads, we're going to head over to the Palais Royal, revolutionary pressure cooker. This was the beating heart of the political plotting in revolutionary Paris. Napoleon watched these spaces carefully. He understood revolutions don't start in palaces, they start in cafes. But we're going to head over here because back then, like, France was very much different salons and little bars and cafes and whatnot. I mean, that's where the chatter pretty much started, especially in Paris, right? But as we ramble over here, try and go as easy as we can. Easy now. So the Palais Royal, which is just here. Some more of these fascinating landmarks, and the beautiful buildings as well. Like, as I say, everything looks a little bit better at higher altitude, right? But you should still get a fairly good idea of all of these different buildings. Do you know what I mean? Hello there. Hassan, welcome in. Easy now. Like, it's mad. I had to go off and learn all this because, like, right, I've been to Paris 4 times, or 3 times, no, 4 times, and for me, I'm just walking around buildings going, oh, look, it's a lovely building, without fully grasping, you know, Jesus, that's where that happened, or, do you know what I mean? A fascinating place. And it was even something I said to Mr. Tooth. I was like, no, look, I've been to Paris, I've been there, done that. Now I'm mad to go back because I've learned so much more about it. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So next up, we're going to head up to the Place Vendôme, home to the Vendôme column, cast from cannons captured at Austerlitz. That's our next stop. And the Battle of Austerlitz, that's coming up because we're going to be talking about the Third Coalition, right? So we're going to head up this way now. And the column is built out of cannons. Isn't that friggin' mad? I'd also recommend a little bit of altitude here just so we can kind of see the buildings a bit better. Photogrammetry is absolutely amazing, but you can see in years to come, and this is what, like, I get really excited about this technology. In years to come, we'll look back and say, Chase, do you remember what photogrammetry used to look like in 2024? Right? It looked like melted candle wax, right? I predict, you know, in the not so distant future, lads, we are going to have, you know, moving objects almost like we won't be able to tell the difference anymore. And it is getting like that. Flight sims are getting that way. It's mad, isn't it? Crazy. It's all right, Lear. Melted wangle cax. That's the one. Yeah. Melted wangle cax. You want to watch that? Anyway, this is here, Place Vendôme. It's class though, isn't it? Cast from cannons captured at Austerlitz. Easy now. Easy. Isn't it mad, isn't it? So after this, we're going to head up to the right, and it's over to the Opera Garnier, or Garnier. Opera mattered to Napoleon, of course, not for the music, but for the whole image, the public ritual, the hierarchy, the controlled spectacle. Opera houses were the elite social controlled spaces where loyalty was displayed and hierarchy enforced. So as we leave here now, the Vendôme, built out of cannons, lads, right? Isn't that mad? Let's head up to the Opera Garnier. Might happen in Flight Sim 2044, yeah. Alright, easy now. Bit of altitude needed on this one. Paris is huge. Huge! Alrighty, easy does it. Wouldn't you love to do a heli tour in Paris? A real one, like, you know? Like, when you look at the buildings, they're just incredible, aren't they? Absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. Captain Sickbag, thank you very much indeed. 57 months. Jesus. Thank you very, very much indeed, buddy. I appreciate you. Let's see. We're nearly at it. Nearly there. So that's it there, look. Where's my mouse gone? Do you see it over there? I'm almost certain that's it. It's not this big cathedral here, it's this guy here. I think. Murph, need to go now. Watch again, catch up. Love the historical briefings. Ah, Hayden, thank you very much indeed. Have a good one, buddy. You take care. I'm almost certain that's the guy in there. Or it could be there either. Hang on. Oh, maybe that is it. Yeah, that's it. That is it. Jesus. The size of the shagging thing, look. That's mad, lads, isn't it? It's got the architecture here, isn't it gorgeous? Absolutely stunning. Okie dokie. Next up, not far from here, where's my chopper? There we go. This is so awesome. There's so many people here in choppers, lads. I love this. Alright, so it's going to be a turn over to the left hand side. Now we're heading over to the Place de Madeleine. Napoleon ordered this church to be built as a temple to the glory of the Grand Army. What a church, more of a monument to obedience and victory. Even religion bent toward the state under Napoleon. So, fate was permitted, but power remained secular. That's our next waypoint, which is down this way. Easy now. Swap, good to see you, buddy. Right, we'll go this way. Easy. Hard left. Don't crash, Sim. You're doing great so far. You're great, Craig. Easy. There's Toto ahead of us. Man, Toto. Easy. Right, watch the speed. Easy. Alright, there should be. So, Place de Madeleine, or Madeleine. That's deadly, isn't it? You can definitely see where they got the ideas from Rome. Like, I mean, these historical buildings, absolutely insane looking, isn't it? Beautiful architecture, absolutely stunning. That's awesome. Absolutely class, lads. So from here, let's get our bearings once again. So we're going to go up to the left here. Easy now, easy now. There's the Eiffel Tower over there. So we're going to head down here now to the Champs-Élysées. And from the Champs-Élysées, we'll head up the Champs-Élysées, and then that goes up to the Arc de Triomphe. So the avenue became the ceremonial artery of the empire. Triumphs moved this way, armies paraded this way, and well, the Champs-Élysées, of course, you remember from when Paris was liberated back in World War II. That's, you know, a lot of the famous photos were taken from the Champs-Elysees. So that's where we're going to head to next, and from there we head on up to the Arc de Triomphe, which was commissioned by Napoleon after Austerlitz. Before this is kind of like the last major achievement, if you like. It celebrates victory at its absolute peak, right? Now, I drove the Champs-Elysees. You have roads where 2 lanes meet a roundabout, and it could be 8 lanes into 3 lanes into 4 lanes into 5. Like, it's freaking nuts, right? So this here is the Champs-Elysees. There's a great Ferrari shop along this road, and as we ramble up here towards the Arc de Triomphe, the Arc of Triumph, that's where we're heading now. Don't crash, Sim. Easy now. So flying along the Champs-Elysees, and of course here we have the Arc de Triomphe, one of the most beautiful landmarks in Paris. And of course the arc, the ceremonial arc, comes straight from Roman times. The Romans would celebrate with a triumph, and then you'd have a triumphant arc built. There's still a good few in Rome itself. And other countries kind of adopt this as well. You'll see kind of victory arches and so on. But the Arc de Triomphe, if you haven't already known, now you know. It was commissioned by Napoleon, and well, that's why you see it there. Do you know? Good place to do some drifting. Yeah. Like it's just one of those landmarks of Paris. And when you think about it, how many landmarks does a city need? Paris has so many. Champs-Elysees, the Arc de Triomphe, the Louvre, the Notre Dame, the Eiffel Tower. Like, there's so many in and around Paris. It's absolutely mad, lads. Mad, I tell you. So we'll do a bit of hovering in this location, and we'll just kind of check it all out. That was too close? Jesus. You saw nothing. It was fine. Jesus, did you nearly see what happened to us though? Bloody hell. I didn't nearly crash, you nearly crashed. But anyway, right, we continue on with our endeavours. So our next waypoint, lads, all the way down the Seine, we're going to head down to Notre Dame. So hopefully we do this, you know, without causing an international incident, and the French will never welcome us back. So, on down this way. Up you devil you. Easy now, Jemima. Next time we're doing one of these, I need to pick a chopper that I can kind of control without, you know... Let's see what happens. Yeah, wasn't there a plane that flew through the Arc de Triomphe? I'm almost certain there was. Down through the ages, surely there was. Man, look at all the cathedrals, and that's just beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. Now, word of advice, if you ever visit Paris and you say to yourself, there's the Eiffel Tower, sure, we'll just walk down to Notre Dame. It will take you hours. Hours. It's a big old city, like, you know what I mean? So, Notre Dame, Napoleon, this is where he crowned himself emperor. Note, I said he crowned himself, right? Not the Pope, not God, himself. He crowned himself, right? So, we're going to do some learning as we make our way down towards Notre Dame. So, easy does it here now. And I reckon if we just kind of slowly keep us in this kind of rough direction, we should be fairly alright. So we'll do something like this. Let's see here now. We need to turn our machine ever so slightly left. There we go. There we go. Something like that. And let's see what we can see as we head down towards Notre Dame, right? Now, where's my notes? We continue. So, we're now moving on in our story to the second Italian campaign. The second campaign. Italy had slipped away. All the work that Napoleon did prior to going to Egypt, well, as soon as he went to Egypt, the old Austrians said, we'll have you. So while Napoleon chased visions of empire in Egypt, everything he had built south of the Alps collapsed. Austrian and Russian armies rolled back the French gains. Northern Italy, the proving grounds of his genius, was lost. The French army was trapped in Genoa. Europe whispered that the Corsicans' moment had passed. Napoleon understood something instinctively that few politicians ever do. Power taken must be validated quickly, publicly, irrefutably. As first consul, he didn't need a victory. He didn't need a victory. He needed the victory. So, the consulate promised stability, but promises were cheap. What France needed was certainty, momentum, proof that now the man ruling Paris could kind of put his money where his mouth was, sort of thing. So Napoleon did what he had always done with authority. He went off and he did it. You go out and you do it, and that's exactly what he did. He went to Italy, right? Now, in May 1800, Napoleon assembled an army of some 40,000 men, pointed them towards the Alps. And these weren't like, you know, highways or nice gentle routes. Not at all. These are the impossible ones. So much so that they even had to dismantle the cannons and carry them by hand. Don't bottle it, Murph. Go fierce handy, would you? Easy. So, here is the Cathedral of Notre Dame. We're going to try and hold station here. So cannons were dismantled, stripped down piece by piece, dragged through snow and also on sleds, ropes and sheer human stubbornness. Soldiers slipped, animals died, men froze. Officers protested. Experienced generals said it couldn't be done. No army of that size could cross the mountains undetected. Well, Napoleon ignored them. Speed, surprise and audacity had always been his trinity, and once again Europe was about to learn that geography did not frighten the man. By the time the Austrian commanders realised what was happening, it was already too late. Napoleon wasn't just back in Italy. He managed to get in behind the Austrians. 2nd of June, Napoleon entered Milan for the second time in his life. The reception was cool, respectful and cautious. It wasn't the breathless liberation of a young conqueror. This time, Europe was watching very carefully, and Napoleon knew it. Then another campaign during Italy was the Marengo, right? A decisive confrontation came on the 14th of June near the village of Marengo, east of Alessandria. Napoleon believed that he had outmaneuvered the Austrians. He believed incorrectly that they were retreating. They were not retreating. Instead, General Michael von Melis, commanding a larger Austrian force, they struck first and they struck hard. By mid-morning, the French line was buckling, and by noon, it was collapsing. Do you ever hear that? Is it Marengo? Marengo? Do you ever hear of chicken Marengo? That's where it got its name, right? For good old Napoleon. French infantry fought in suffocating heat. They were firing the muskets so rapidly the barrels overheated, and the French soldiers had to urinate on the metal just to keep them functional. Units broke, artillery was overrun, and Napoleon himself misjudged the scale of the attack and committed reserves far too early. 4 hours defeat loomed. It wasn't necessarily his most heroic moment. It was pure panic, confusion and blood. Had the battle ended here, well, Napoleon's consulate might have ended with it. However, late in the afternoon, the battlefield shifted. General Louis Desailly, recalled at the last possible moment, arrived with fresh troops, and at the same time, Kellermann's cavalry struck the Austrian flank with devastating force. Momentum snapped, and the Austrians, exhausted from hours of fighting and believing victory already secured, faltered. Then they broke. By the evening, the field belonged to France. Napoleon had won. Barely, but he won. So militarily, Marengo wasn't Napoleon's cleanest victory. Strategically, it wasn't flawless. Tactically, well, it was nearly a disaster. But politically, well, this was perfect. The defeat in Egypt vanished overnight. Italy was reclaimed, and the Second Coalition fractured. Within months, Austria was forced to negotiate the Treaty of Luneville, which restored French dominance in Italy and confirmed France as the central power on the continent once more. Back in Paris, the story hardened instantly. Marengo was rewritten as inevitability, as genius, as destiny, and Napoleon encouraged this, carefully and very much deliberately. The scale of the victory was exaggerated, of course, the dangers downplayed, and the near collapse, well, erased. France didn't see it as a gamble that nearly failed. They saw it as a leader who always won. A dish was named after the battle, chicken Marengo, an absurd but telling symbol of how quickly myth replaced reality. Most importantly, this gave Napoleon what no constitution could ever give: legitimacy born of success. He was no longer merely first consul by law, he was first consul by right. And Europe understood the message clearly. Napoleon Bonaparte was not a temporary solution. He was not a caretaker, he wasn't simply just passing through history. He had returned to Italy, reclaimed it by force of will, and bent the political future of France around the single throat. Power follows victory. And he was only getting started. For the first time in decades, the cannons fell silent. In 1802, against every expectation shaped, France and Britain, as we said, agreed to stop the fighting. And the Peace of Amiens was signed, and everything, for the moment, was fantastic. The British newspapers that spent years betraying him, of course, well, he was now all it. Napoleon was the man. France was very popular, and back here in France, well, Britain was very popular. It's hard to think, after years of hatred and bloodshed, boom, we're the best of friends, and then that didn't last terribly long at all, you know. And of all the different laws and codes and all this that Napoleon did, it's still mad to think, you know, most of them are still in play to this day across much of Europe, much of the world, you know. So by 1804, Napoleon stood at the summit of power without yet admitting it. France was calm, a word few had dared to use for 15 years. The borders were secure, the treasury functioned, bread was affordable, law meant the same thing in Marseille as it did in Paris. Even the French language, Napoleon was able to bring it back in. There were many different dialects of French, and well, Napoleon said there will be one language, and he figured it all out. He said the same then for Europe. He said Europe should have one currency, one code of laws. And that's what he was all about. In the meantime, Napoleon had also survived a number of attacks, right? A number of assassination attempts. He survived bombs, plots, whispers and shadows. Royalists wanted him dead, Jacobins wanted him gone, foreign powers wanted him removed. So he tried to figure this one out. So he did. Napoleon made a decision that would have even horrified his younger self. Bearing in mind, think of it, back in the beaches of Ajaccio, he didn't like this idea of, you know, a monarchy or of one kind of force. He didn't like these ideas. He liked the Republican ideas that, you know, there's no caste system, there's no, just because you're born this doesn't mean you're going to be that. Right? He didn't agree to all of this stuff. So the way Napoleon changed from first consul, his idea was, well, you know, all these assassination attempts on me, they should kind of disappear if they can't get rid of me. And by that, putting in lineage, putting in a family, an ascension, effectively, of how this will all work. So this move was presented as necessity to be emperor. Plots were uncovered, real ones, exaggerated ones, and some that only existed on paper. One royalist conspiracy, the so-called, Cadoodle plot, provided the justification. The message to the Senate was simple. France is under threat. Stability requires continuity. Napoleon framed the argument carefully. If he fell tomorrow, who ruled? Who commanded the army? Who signed treaties? Who prevented civil war from returning like an infection? The answer, well, it was obvious, but terrifying. So the Senate obliged. A plebiscite was called, the people voted. As before, the margins were overwhelming, and as before, no one asked too closely how the numbers were achieved. In May of 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte was declared Emperor of the French. And this is important, he wasn't Emperor of France, he was the Emperor of the French people. And this is how a play of words actually worked. The distinction mattered. He claimed authority not from God, but from the nation. Not from the divine right, but from consent. It was the Republic rebranded. Revolutionary language, but imperial reality. Where we are right now, at Notre Dame, Paris prepared for a spectacle on December 2nd, 1804. Notre Dame Cathedral overflowed with ceremony, 5,000 dignitaries crowded inside, 400 musicians played, and 500,000 parishioners filled the streets. Rome was even summoned, with Pope Pius VII arriving reluctantly, aware that he was there not to crown a king, but to legitimize something new. Napoleon entered wearing scarlet, velvet, and gold, right? Hang on there now. Easy. Where am I? I'm officially lost. Hold hard. We need to do a Yui. We've gone too far. We'll go back to Notre Dame there, right? Easy. Easy. Now we need to zoom in. There we go, Chopper. Yes. And we'll head back over to Notre Dame here for the moment, because it's at this very place where Napoleon became emperor, right? So he entered wearing scarlet, velvet and gold, crowned by symbols borrowed shamelessly from Rome, from Charlemagne and indeed Caesar. Josephine followed in white satin, trembling under the weight of both jewels and history. Then came the moment. As the Pope raised the crown, Napoleon stepped forward and took it. Napoleon took the crown. As he lifted it, he placed it on his own head. The gesture was unmistakable. Power did not descend, it was seized. The Pope remained, but sidelined. God was present, but unnecessary. Napoleon then crowned Josephine himself, a private act staged before an entire continent. Revolution had devoured the monarchy. Napoleon had replaced it, of course, with himself. As he did this, wearing the crown of emperor, he leaned in, turned to his brother Joseph and whispered quietly, If only Father could see us now. This was not merely vanity, though vanity was of course present. It was very much strategy. Europe spoke the language of monarchy. Emperors dealt with emperors. Kings respected crowns, and Republican generals were tolerated but never trusted. Napoleon understood that without imperial status, France would forever be treated as some sort of ideological aberration. And with it, he could not, or with being an emperor, he could sit as an equal, or indeed superior, to the old dynasties. He didn't abandon the revolution, he absorbed it in. Titles returned, but were earned. Aristocracy emerged, but of service, not of bloodshed. Symbols multiplied, eagles, reeds, Roman imaginary and Roman imagery designed to connect him to permanence, history and inevitability. So, where we are now, he's just become emperor. He's now the one-man friggin' show. We're going to head back over... He's now. We're going to head back over Notre Dame, and we're heading over to the Ile Saint Louis, right? Or Saint Louis, which is just down here. Easy. Easy now. By the end of 1804, Napoleon stood unchallenged. Amvi, thank you very much indeed. France was stable, the economy was grand, the church pacified, the army very loyal to him, Europe, of course, all at peace. But quiet, well, it wasn't quiet. Britain watched him with suspicion. Austria waited, Russia measured, Prussia hesitated. Napoleon dreamed not of France alone, but of Europe. He wanted one law, one system, one currency. He believed conflict was not failure but motion, and motion was life. He had climbed every staircase placed before him, and he never learned how or when to stop. Napoleon had climbed every staircase in Europe that was placed in front of him. Only one remained. Britain. Not a country, really, not in the way France, Austria and Prussia were countries. Britain was an island fortress, protected not by walls or armies, but by water, by timber and by canvas. Now, the crack with Britain at the time, they were having this kind of we all love each other sort of stuff. But all the promises that were made, well, the British were dragging their heels. And so were the French. They didn't give Malta back. The British didn't relinquish control of all these areas. In fact, the British were very much, well, no, we like all this stuff here in Egypt. In fact, we're going to keep it. And sure, don't you worry about it, France. We're doing it our way. So Napoleon is like, right, well, the only way to deal with these lads properly is to take them out. And that was his plan. So this here, before we get into all of that, this here is the Isle of St. Louis, right? This is the Paris Napoleon preferred to move through when thinking, not performing. It's a quiet residential area, right? Easy now. It was very much down here that this is where like the private elite would live. In these apartments, kind of away from the great unwashed, if you like, all around this area. So that's where we're overflying now. And from here, we're going to turn up to the Hotel de Ville. This was very much the administrative heart of Paris. Napoleon assured local power answered upwards, not outwards. Control of cities meant control of France. And from the administrative hub of Paris, where we're going to head up to now, at the Hotel de Ville, this whole region, a lot of it was controlled from here. So we'll go on the left. And let's ramble up. There's a nice square up here as well, I think. I hope. Napoleon wanted the EU. 100%, Colonel Fork. That's what he envisaged. Absolutely, that's what he envisaged. One peoples, one currency, one law. That was his thinking, right? Easy now. Oh, I'm pressing buttons and I shouldn't be. There we go. So this is all in and around the administrative centre of Paris. And this building here, I'm almost certain this is the Hotel de Ville. Man, the freaking architecture is only gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, there's the square at the front of it. We'll ramble in. Paris is very grey. 'Tis fierce grey in the sim, isn't it? Now, time of day as well is probably having an impact, so let's drag it back a little bit. A bit of colour in here. All right. So after this, it's a bit of a hike all the way across town. We're going to head over to the house of the National de Saint Claude, the Republican, or this is where the Republic effectively died. This is where the Brumerie unfolded, out where they had the coup. We're going to fly over to that location now in a minute. But while we're here, Napoleon understood geography better than most generals understood maps. He knew that France could dominate the continent and still lose the war if Britain remained untouched. Gold, trade, credit, coalition money, Britain funded resistance everywhere Napoleon had conquered. As long as London stood, Europe would never be quiet. So he prepared to do what no French ruler had done successfully in centuries. He prepared to cross the Channel. Along the Channel coast, from Boulogne to Calais, the landscape transformed into a vast military machine. Camps stretched for miles, roads were cut, docks expanded, barracks rose, cannons were drilled daily, and hundreds of thousands of men learned how to embark and disembark from boats with mechanical precision. Napoleon called it the Armée d'Angleterre, or the Army of England. 200,000 soldiers, veterans hardened by Italy, Germany, and revolution, drilled endlessly while staring across a strip of water Napoleon dismissed as a mere ditch. London was already mapped. It would become le Département de la Thames, or the Department of the Thames. And his whole thinking was, Napoleon, he wanted European dominance. And that's why England popped up. Britain popped up once again in his world. And his thinking was, you would have the Republic of Britain. Ireland and Scotland would also follow suit. They could be liberated. You would have the Republic of Ireland, perhaps even the Republic of Scotland, even the Republic of Wales. And these would all operate inside of the French, influence of control, or control of influence. If you could do that by reorganizing all of this, Europe would finally be whole. Napoleon toured the camps personally, not as emperor, but again as the little corporal. Muddy boots, simple coat, questions fired like musket shots. He rewarded discipline, shamed incompetence, and he made the invasion feel inevitable. He even erected a new statue in Calais, or Cherbourg, all about the invasion of England. Right? I mean, he was thinking so far ahead, he didn't realise that there was a problem. The problem he could not solve with artillery. That problem was the Royal Navy. Napoleon never truly understood ships. He respected them, he needed them, but they did not obey him in the way armies did. Admirals argued, winds refused orders, timing slipped, coordination failed. French and Spanish fleets would scatter British naval forces by sailing to the West Indies, drawing them across the Atlantic. Then, the idea, slipping back into Europe, they would briefly dominate the Channel just long enough. Napoleon thought, just 6 hours is all I need. If I am the master of the Channel for 6 hours, he said, I will be master of the world. The man tasked with executing the vision was Admiral Villeneuve, competent, cautious, and utterly unsuited to the pressure Napoleon placed upon him. And the British were waiting. The day that the sea said no, October 21st, 1805. For years, Napoleon had bent Europe to his will on the land. Armies dissolved in front of him. Coalitions collapsed. Capitals opened their gates, kings fled, but the ocean, vast, indifferent, unmoved, and, couldn't be persuaded, didn't. On the morning of October 21st, 1805, off Cape Trafalgar, the waiting ended. The combined fleets of France and Spain, 33 ships of the line, lay stretched across the Atlantic swell. Commanded by Admiral Villeneuve, they were powerful on paper, uneasy in reality. Many crews were inexperienced, training had been rushed, confidence was brittle. They knew what was coming. Opposing them was the British Royal Navy under the command of Horatio Nelson, outnumbered but lethal. Nelson had already been named as legend, blind in one eye, missing an arm, sustained by reputation, instinct, and an unshakable belief that battles were won by audacity. Nelson was Britain's answer to Napoleon from the sea. This would be Nelson's last stand. Napoleon's invasion army waited at Boulogne. 200,000 men drilled into perfection, gunboats massed, London mapped like a future department of France. And the plan, simple in theory and impossible in practice, distract the Royal Navy, gain temporary control of the Channel and cross it in force. Trafalgar was meant to be the final step. Instead, it became the end of the idea. Nelson did not intend to fight according to the rules of the age. Naval warfare in the 18th century was formal. Two parallel lines exchanging broadside like gentlemen trading insults. Nelson tore up the rulebook. He divided his fleets into two columns and drove them straight at the enemy line. Bows on, sails straining, decks silent. It was reckless. His ships would endure raking fire on approach. They would be vulnerable. Entire crews could be slaughtered before firing a single shot. But Nelson accepted this. Speed, shock, and chaos were his weapons. As the fleets closed, Nelson ordered a single hoist aboard HMS Victory. England expects that every man will do his duty. The British columns smashed through the Franco-Spanish line, cutting it into isolated fragments. At point-blank range, British gunners fired double-shot broadside that shredded hulls, collapsed gun decks, and turned the ships into floating slaughterhouses. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution without the terrifying professionalism. Smoke blanketed the sea, masts fell like trees, men were crushed beneath rigging, burned alive even, or torn apart by splinters, the deadliest projectiles of wooden warships. Orders vanished in the noise, admirals lost controls, and ships drifted helplessly into the killing zone. High in the rigging of the French ship Redoutable, a marksman took aim. The shot struck Nelson in the shoulder, passed through his lung, and lodged in his spine. He was carried below decks, dying slowly as the battle raged on above him. He did not ask about himself. He asked only one thing. Are we winning? By the time Nelson died, the answer was undeniable. The Franco-Spanish fleet was destroyed. 17 enemy ships were captured or sunk, not a single British ship was lost, and the remainder fled in disarray, many wrecked in storms that followed. Nelson had won. The British had secured something far greater than victory. It had secured the sea. France would never again challenge the British naval supremacy during Napoleon's lifetime. Not with new ships, not with new admirals, not with new plans. The English Channel, that mere ditch Napoleon had dismissed, became an iron wall. The invasion of Britain was over. Napoleon, well, he didn't rage. He didn't denounce Villeneuve publicly, although, he did privately. He simply pivoted. The sea had said no. So Napoleon turned back to the land, where he still believed destiny obeyed him. And 6 weeks later at Austerlitz, he would prove that belief terrifyingly correct. So, where are we heading? We're heading now to St. Cloud National Park. Are your arms jaded yet? I hope so. Right, get to it there now. Jeez, we're covering some mileage in this, lads. Osflight Simmer, good to see you, buddy. I'm shocked and slow reading the chat, only because I've so many notes. It's ridiculous. But I had to cover it all. We couldn't end up next week in Spain wondering, Jesus Murph, how did we get here? Do you know? Let me see. He's in the bush. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. Right, so we're going to boot it across Paris and we're heading out now. It's only 5 miles. We're heading out now to a couple of more landmarks along the way. And we'll see how we get on here, right? So far, so good, right? You gotta love chase plane, right? Easy now, Jemima. All sorts of sounds coming in. So, Napoleon's biggest fright, you know, the whole idea of conquering Britain and the old decoy to try and drag the British Navy on the decoy failed spectacularly, and then, you know, the Spanish and British fleet, or the Spanish and French fleets, completely wiped out. At the same time, Austria and Russia had formed a new alliance, the Third Coalition. Believing Napoleon distracted, his armies tied down on the northern coast, well, they mobilised, convinced the moment had come. Easy now. We're kind of going the right way. We're still alright, lads. Big Al, good to see you. Yeah, that's mad. Right, where are we heading to now? So we're heading up to the St. Cloud National Estate, and then it's up to where Josephine used to live, right? We're nearly there. We're getting through it, lads. I'm going to need to lie down. So, yeah, Russia and Austria thought Napoleon shagged here. We have him on the run. It's going to be grand. They were very wrong. Napoleon did what he did best. He moved faster than anyone believed possible. The Army of England became the Grand Army overnight. The camps dissolved, columns turned east, and 200,000 men marched across Europe with a precision that stunned observers. By October, Napoleon had surrounded an Austrian army at Ulm and forced its surrender without a major battle. Vienna fell soon after. The coalition reeled, but the Russians were still coming. Napoleon waited. On December 2nd, 1805, exactly 1 year after his coronation, Napoleon faced the combined armies of Russia and Austria near the town of Austerlitz. He deliberately appeared weak. He ceded high ground, thinned his right flank, he invited the attack. Fog rolled into the valleys, and when the Allies advanced, confident and disorganised, Napoleon struck the centre, bursting from the mist with devastating force. The coalition army split, units collapsed in confusion, retreat turned into slaughter. Now, whoa, lads, because we are here at the place. Easy. There's a landmark right there. So we'll ease off the power here a little bit. So this is where the Republic effectively died. It was here that they staged the coup. And it was just enough outside of the city, right? And this is how it all came to pass. So this is the exact spot where the Republic, you know, officially dies off and Napoleon seizes power. All this neck of the woods here. Isn't it class that we can see this in the sim? It's absolutely nuts. By midday, the war was over. Austerlitz was perfection. Austria quickly sued for peace. The Holy Roman Empire, a 1,000-year-old political structure, collapsed soon after. Germany was reorganised under French dominance, and Napoleon stood at the height of his land power. Austerlitz was a triumph. Napoleon could dominate Europe, but he couldn't finish the war. Britain would fund coalitions. They'd move their armies by sea. They could strike anywhere, anytime. The oceans were closed to him forever. So he decided to choose another weapon. If Napoleon couldn't defeat Britain by force, his idea was to starve it. And thus we have the continental system. With it, a war that would stretch across borders, economies, and eventually empires. Napoleon's dream had cracked, but it didn't yet collapse. Napoleon reached a paradox. He had broken Austria, crushed Prussia, humbled Russia, and he redrew the map of Europe by force of will and speed. And yet one enemy remained untouched, and that was Britain. They weren't beaten, they weren't even wounded. They were still trading, still rich, and still laughing behind the Royal Navy. Napoleon understood something fundamental. If Britain couldn't be defeated with cannon, it would have to be defeated with starvation. In 1806, from Berlin, Napoleon announced a new weapon, the Continental System. Europe would close its ports to British goods. No trade, no ships, no insurance, no commerce. Britain was to be isolated, strangled, and forced to its knees without a single French soldier needing to land on English soil. On paper, this was a brilliant plan. In reality, it was doomed. See, the problem, Europe didn't want this war, and British goods were everywhere. Textiles, sugar, coffee, tobacco, manufactured items. No one else could supply cheaply or even reliably. British merchants were efficient, British shipping was dominant, and British credit lubricated half of the European continent. Close the ports and Europe would suffer first. Smuggling exploded overnight. Entire coastal economies quietly ignored Napoleon's decrees. Islands like Heligoland became black market hubs. Neutral ships changed their flags. Bribes followed. Customs officials looked the other way. And even worse, Napoleon's own family cheated. His brothers, which were now installed as kings and princes across Europe, quietly allowed British luxury goods to pass through their ports. Silk, wine, coffee, and English cloth flowed into continental markets under false manifests and diplomatic immunity. The continental system was supposed to unite Europe against Britain. Instead, it revealed how fragile Napoleon's control actually was. And nowhere was that fragility more obvious than on the western edge of the continent. Portugal. Portugal was a problem Napoleon couldn't ignore. It had traded with Britain for centuries, its economy depended on British shipping and protection, and Lisbon's docks were effectively an extension of the Royal Navy's logistic network. Napoleon demanded compliance. Portugal refused. Not loudly, not defiantly, just quietly continued trading. To Napoleon, this was not disobedience, it was some sort of infection that the British had spread. If Portugal remained open, the entire continental system collapsed. British goods would simply pour into Europe through Iberia, carried inland by smugglers and merchants. Napoleon decided Portugal had to be closed. And that meant Spain. Spain, in theory, was an ally. In practice, it was decaying. It was ruled nominally by King Charles IV, effectively by his hatred favourite Manuel Godoy. Spain was politically brittle, economically exhausted and deeply resentful. Its army outdated, its court corrupt, its peoples restless. Napoleon saw Spain the way he had seen Italy and Germany before it. A system waiting to be reorganised. French troops were allowed to cross Spanish territory to reach Portugal, a temporary arrangement. Napoleon assured Madrid. Columns marched south, maps were drawn, but as French soldiers spread across Spanish roads and cities, something subtle began to change. This wasn't Italy, this wasn't Germany. Spain did not see itself as liberated. It didn't admire Napoleon, it didn't welcome the French administration. It watched, it waited, and it remembered. Napoleon, confident from a decade of victories, but he didn't notice that difference. By 1808, Napoleon stood higher than any other ruler in Europe. He was the Emperor of France, the King of Italy. He was a lawgiver, the arbiter of borders, the brother king seated across the continent. He'd beaten every army sent against him on land. He had bent diplomacy to his will, and he had forced monarchs to negotiate on rafts in tents on his terms. But Britain. And with that you had Portugal. He believed simply another door to be kicked in. Some wars do not behave, some peoples do not submit, and some wounds never heal. Spain should be no different to that of Germany or Italy. Same with Portugal. even though they had the backing of the British. So where we finish this journey tonight, Napoleon stands at the absolute summit of his power. We have transitioned Napoleon from returning from Egypt, taking full power in Paris. From the coup, he became consul, the prime consul, right? Then he became consul for life. After that, he made himself emperor. He retakes his land in Italy. He fights off the Austrians and completely covers off the lands in which were taken away from him. Then he plans to invade Britain. But he lost his fleet and the Spanish fleet at the Battle of Trafalgar, being Nelson's last fight. But after that, he then ran off to the Third Coalition War. He had to fight against the Austrians once again, the Russians now, the Prussians were in there, and yet he managed to beat them. So the only other way to have pure European dominance was to make sure Britain was knocked out. He wanted to starve them, block all their goods, put a full trade embargo on everything that the British had, but this proved to be a disaster, and some of the countries completely ignored what Napoleon wanted. Portugal being the biggest and most strongest importer of British goods, and the goods were coming into Europe via Spain. So next week we go to Spain, where Napoleon picks a fight with the Spanish. But that's next week. Where we are now, friends, as we continue our flight here tonight in Paris, we're about to ramble up to this place. Hopefully I don't crash now. I'm doing my best not to. This here is the Malmaison. This is Josephine's home. This is where Josephine lived. Now, poor old Napoleon usually off fighting battles, but he stayed here as well, right? There it be, just there. And we'll ramble in and have an old talk of it. Don't crash, Murphy. Is it now? Oh, Jemima. Like, when you think of the timelines, and it's also important, right? Oh, there's a CTD. No. Yeah, there's a CTD. I don't believe it. Your flight sim has encountered a problem. Error SOK. This error could be due to either a driver, an application, graphics overheating, which I doubt, yeah. Okay, we have to restart the sim. The good news is we're nearly done, so we're going to restart from here. Jesus. And then ramble back up the road again. Bloody hell, lads. CTDs. Something went wrong launching your game. Launching your game? Let's see what happens now. Average British lads on tour. Yeah. Just want to remark the madness that I now have steady FPS here in Paris. Before the last sim update, it was more like 15. Nuts, isn't it? Ty's good to see you. After a long thought, I'm quitting the A320. Too buggy and the autopilot is bad. Ooh, the A320. Is that the default one, Ty's? Welcome in, buddy. Signing off for today. John, take it easy, buddy. Mr. Lard is here. Good to see you. Kieran Niall, welcome in. Right, my coffee, thank you very much. Yeah, we had to cover an awful lot of ground tonight. Ridiculous amount of stuff, but we're getting through it. So when we load up, we're going to start off over at the St. Cloud, the Malmaison, right? Good old Josephine. So that's where we're going to start from. And we still have a little bit to go, so we're going to go from there down to the Chateau of the Fontainebleau. And from there, it's back up to Versailles and then back in. So we've a little bit of flying left to do. Hopefully the chopper behaves itself when we load in, do you know? But isn't it mad when you think about it? Like, Napoleon's idea was he was going to make Britain a republic, right? And what's interesting, around that time, a little bit beforehand, Ireland was very much fighting for independence. It had started a rebellion of 1798 under the command of Theobald Wolfe, in which they got some support from the French and from Spanish, and others. And the idea being was they were asking the French, hey, come on over here and help us out. But 1798, it was too early for them to make any sort of real inroads. And what happened to that rebellion formed a new unity in which Ireland got brought into, which became the United Kingdom. And that was all 1798. And it was all from the Jesus. There was a name. I don't think it was the Irish Republican Brotherhood, but there was a name for it. Theobald Wolfe is a fascinating character, this one, right? Let's have a look here now. Irish Republicanism Society of the United Irishmen. That's what it was, right? In 1791, he helped form the Society of United Irishmen. Fueled by the popular grievances of rents, tithes and taxes, driven by martial law repression, and despairing of reform, the society developed as an insurrectionary movement when, in the early summer of 1798, it broke into open rebellion. Wolfe was in exile soliciting assistance from the French Republic, and in October 1798, on a second attempt to land in Ireland with French troops and supplies, he was taken prisoner, sentenced to be hanged, and he died from reportedly self-inflicted wound. But fascinating character. He's born in Salinsdale, County Kildare. He studied law at Trinity College. Like, it's huge, the history. And where you have all this going on in France and the revolution and all of this, Europe was in a state of rebellion. I mean, that's just what that time was, you know? Even the Irish flag, I mean, that was a gift from France. You know, the French gave us our flag, the Irish flag, the tricolour. That was a gift from France. So there's great histories kind of intertwined between all countries in Europe. Like they're all interlocked and involved in some way, shape, or form. And it's even the British history with the French going back through countless centuries, turmoil, yes, but also alliances, right? And the whole thing fascinates me. It really, really does. And yet, even in modern time, when we look at the European Union, when we look at the countries involved and all the sort of stuff there, it's history has a terrible habit of repeating itself. Would you not agree? Do you know what I mean? I mean, we talk about trade war and don't be accepting goods and boycotting different goods. Like, that still goes on today, lads. It is quite amazing. It still goes on. Now, where were we? We're up this neck of the woods, weren't we? Is this going to crash again? No. It is. No. Right. Stupid thing. Where am I trying? Now, you lot, are you where you're supposed to be? Where's the gaff? That looks like the gaff there, doesn't it? Right. Jump in there now. That's our departure. Flight conditions. Custom. Make it daytime, please. And let's load back in. Right. I think we're in the right place. We'll find out now. Paris is friggin' huge, man, isn't it? All right, let's get an idea of where we are. No. Malmaison. Yes, this is where we're at. And before we go any further, this sim it's just not running well. Sure, it's not. And you know what it is? I reckon it's got to be the model matching.
I put the
Stu Snape, the absolute mad devil. Stu, thank you very much indeed. Right, turn that off, turn that on. And let's get this machine back working. Stu Snape gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community. Thank you very, very much indeed. And Cornwolf did earlier as well. Lads, thank you. Oh, shit. Okay, so this happened earlier. Cowan, sort out your choppers, man. Right, I'm down there now. I've no idea. Look at this. The chopper's trying to move itself. There's no refunds here, lads. Right, are we good now? Oh, for crying out loud. Hang on. It's having a moment with all my controls again. Stupid thing. I don't want on helicopters. Keyboard. TTM heli. There we go. We rudder pedals. Why is it defaulting to choppers? Or to default choppers? That's weird, isn't it? GTM heli. GTM heli. Right. Now we should be good. Oopsie daisy. There we go. Right, we're live again. It wants to go back to its home planet. It's mad. Aerobat. No, I thought they did. I don't know what's causing it. It's just something new with this chopper. It could be, now, chances are it's a me thing. This hasn't happened before with this helicopter, so I've obviously done something with my controls. You know what I mean? Yeah, it could be that, Colonel Fork. It could be that. We'll just blame Chase Plane. Edson will appreciate it. And Kevin. Yeah, it's Chase Plane. You know. But we should be... Why is that camera locked there now? There we go. Right, so where am I? Okay, so from here, lads, we'll leave the house of Josephine, and we're going to leg it down now to his kind of, I won't say country estate, but this is where Napoleon would have spent a lot of time outside of Paris. And before that, we'll go to the Chateau de... can't pronounce it. Skew, right? And we'll see what happens, right? So let us venture on and see what happens. And we just enjoy kind of the scenery now, because it is beautiful scenery here. It's freaking gorgeous. Paris has done really well in the sim. The only problem is it just seems to be a little bit heavy on the old FPS, do you know? Good man, Rex! Easy now. Easy. Easy. Don't crash. I remember Orbex did a landmark pack for Paris as well. Paris is like the old London, if that makes sense, in the sim, right? London used to be terribly bad on performance, and then all of a sudden they gave it new photogrammetry and it just ran better. I suspect Paris is suffering from the same issue. So, wouldn't it be great if they can get new photogrammetry for Paris? Newer photogrammetry for Paris, right? Alright, let's get ourselves trimmed out here and we see what actually is happening to our machine, shall we? Easy. Easy. Alright, we're looking a bit better. Right, so from here, we are heading down now to the Chateau Skeau. Former aristocratic estate repurposed by the Napoleonic state. During the French Revolution, the property was confiscated, its contents sold to benefit the nation, and the original chateau was demolished. But the pavilion and the gardens and whatnot, the stables and the outbuildings were all preserved. Crops were grown on the Les Notre terraces, and also the Duke of Trevise, son of Napoleon's Marshal Mortier, who had married the daughter of M. Lecomte, inherited the domain and set to restoring the park and the pavilion. The gardens were restored and the parterre and gravel largely replaced and clipped lawns. In 1856, he erected the present smaller chateau in brick, designed to evoke Louis VIII's style. Designed by the architect Augustin Théophile Quantinet and built by Joseph Michel Le Suffage. Thought that was very interesting, but you'll see it, you'll know the building we're at, you'll be like, oh, I know that building, you know. But I wanted to include this in our little flight. The reason being is, this building was destroyed during the revolution. all sorts of palaces, anything at all that came from the royalists were destroyed. Castles burned, people thrown out, all this sort of stuff. And what I find interesting here is the similarities here also resonate back here in Ireland, because when Ireland got its, even before, but Ireland got its independence, they went bananas here, burning out all these houses. Not killing people, they threw them out of their houses, but all these like estates and lords and all this sort of jazz, they were ran, and they destroyed the properties. For whatever reason, I mean, some of the properties were absolutely gorgeous architecture, do you know? And a shame from that regard to have them lost, but to understand back then, you know, it's what they represented, so that's why they took them out of it, right? Interesting. Yeah, Little Flight, that's the one. So yeah, we're going to head over to this place and a quick splash and dash to show you this chateau. We're approaching it here now, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Get our light and shine a bit of light in it. And you'll know it, lads, once we fly over here, be like, oh, I've seen this. You know, you've seen it on a postcard, or, you know what I mean? So let's have a look here. Roy, take it fierce handy. We'll see you soon. It's pronounced so. Thank you, Stick Figure. Sinatra, cheers, buddy. Pressing the SAS helps. It's on.
Hello there.
Here we go here now. Bitman, welcome in. Local Aviator, welcome aboard. Easy now.
Hello there.
So if you do a quick Google of what this is, right? Hazel Thorne, thank you very much for the follow. If you do a quick Google of what this house is and the building, instantly recognizable, right? So let's pause that here now, right? Have a look at this. I'll show you what the gadget looks like. Chateau de Sceaux. Let's go with that. When you see it, you'll be like, I've seen that before. This gadget here, look. That's where we're flying, right? So the original was demolished at the time of the revolution, but then rebuilt in around 1856 or so. All right? So that's where we're flying now. But like, that's the original one, which was larger, right? In the 1740s. Isn't it gorgeous? Absolutely freaking gorgeous. I don't believe it's fully modelled in the sim, but you can see the gardens and all this jazz here are. You know what I mean? So that is only gorgeous. As we leave that neck of the woods, because we're going to be heading down now. Not into the ground if we can help it. We're going to fly back over the airport because we're heading down to our next stop, which is the Palace of the Fountain Blue, the Blue Fountain. And this is the imperial residence of Napoleon. At this building, monarchs had ruled for centuries. And Napoleon said, I live here. So that's where we're heading to next. And then after that, it's up to the Palace of Versailles. And there was a reason why Napoleon did not rule from Versailles. It was the ghost that Napoleon could never escape. The reason being is, well, Versailles, that's where the monarchy would have ruled. So we'll head down this way. Yeah, it's my gaff again, 100% Big Al. Bellbro, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. There's an awful lot of stuff in this episode, Bellbro, as in it's me waffling for the last, 3 hours. The real question is, how are they able to navigate this without a smartphone? Indeed, indeed. So this is... There's a bit of mileage here, but we'll keep her lit. Get our speed up. There's about 25 minutes-ish left, right? So what's new, right? By and large, it's behaving now. It wasn't earlier, but now it is. So it's only a matter of getting some trimmage settings set up. Is it now? And like the imperial residence, it's interesting when you think of it or when you consider it. Here's Napoleon living so far outside of town. Why was that? And of course, you know, Josephine had a gaff up the other side of the town. Kind of mad, isn't it? So we'll ramble on up. Try and keep our heading on this one. And let's see what happens. You just like being a culty, right? Murph, when you're not on stream, do you say nothing at all? Yeah, I do keep myself quiet. Yeah, yeah. The knives have to be longer to reach this far out. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Easy now, Sam. Don't act the Ginnet. Alright, so we got about 20 miles? 20 miles out this way. And then it's back up to Versailles. And then it's home. So kind of keep it to the right here. As we're flying along. Probably like by seeing the people while you travel between places. Yeah, yeah. 100% Big Al. But it's mad, right? I mean, in this timeline that we've covered tonight, which is only 8 years, 9 years, 9 years, right? He goes from being a general, coming back from Egypt, who effectively deserted his troops, right? I mean, he didn't conquest in Egypt. He got his ass handed to him. Within 9 years, he effectively becomes head of state. Then he becomes consul. A couple of years later, then he becomes emperor, right? Loses out at the Battle of Trafalgar, but absolutely wins at Austerlitz. Absolutely wins, like, that's, you know, he's done it. And now he's trying to pave the way to knock Britain out of dominance by starving them off. That sounds like my chopper making noises, but I can assure you we're okay. So far, so good, lads. We're heading out at speed, 120 odd knots. We're just slightly going the wrong way, but it's grand. Yeah, Malky, that's very true as well. Good water supply. Yeah. And also, it kind of shows this sort of dominance as well. I mean, like, if you were part of the government in Paris, and then you're summoned, you know, out to Napoleon's residence, right? That's where he ruled from, the imperial residence.
Hello there.
Like that was that's it's 30 miles as the crow flies, but like back then, you know what I mean? Mott Dog, welcome in. Thanks for the follow, buddy. Good to see you. It's just I find it absolutely mad, you know. And even as we're flying here, like, we're going to be, you know, there's so many beautiful things in and around Paris. All different gardens, different villages and towns. I mean, here's one here. Like, we're only in the suburbs. It's a beautiful country, man. France is stunning. I mean, we've done our holidays out there many times. It's so nice. Lovely country. It's a great country. France is absolutely class to go exploring in. We do often, when we go to France, we take the car, you know. Because you just drive for miles and miles and miles. Look at those antennas over there. See? It's great to see Chase Plane working with choppers too, isn't it? How's everyone getting on with Chase Plane? Is it, you know, is it everything you would expect it to be? Has it completely blown your mind? Is it a lot more than what you thought was just a simple kind of replacement camera? A lot of old buildings, yeah. When in France, one must go to... Indeed. CP says it's too buggy. What issues are you having with it? Big Al is loving it. Stu says don't ask. You've been using it since 2020. What bugs are you getting with a CP? With all the bugs I've seen it give you, I'm holding off. What bugs? I don't see it give me bugs. Justice? No, not in this one, buddy. No, like there's not like any issues I'm having. I don't know what's causing these issues tonight. I mean, I've earlier on and like over the weekend testing this aircraft, I've had 0 issues, and that's using chase plane. Like I've 0 issues. Whatever is happening tonight, it's mad. CTD's potential control assignment overrides. Well, no, it gives you the option to disable all your other camera controls. So what's happening to me, Colonel Fork, this aircraft, there's something else at play here, because these controls, I think I know what I've done. Do you know the way you can apply these to all aircraft? I think I've done that with a different control setting. You know what I mean? So do you know the way we can say helicopters apply to all helicopters? Yes. This will fix this mess now. So keyboard, me mongoose, apply, yes. So that will surely solve all me headaches. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they were chase plane issues. I just think they were Murphy issues. I uninstalled it because it interferes with Toby. Ooh. In what way, Cyrus? Are you getting this issue where it kind of shows your head back a little bit? I mean, that's me using Toby. But granted, I'm using Toby in conjunction with, what's that gadget called? Open Track. But I mean, it works. This, I mean, the solution that I'm rocking, this will still... Oh wait, I need to set that button back up. Hang on. How do we do this now? Where is that button for open track? There we go. Now, reset. Turn it on. That's interesting. Right. Now, if I do this, will it lock? Yeah, it does. Brilliant. It breaks and causes CTDs. Ah, right. Also, I don't want to have it set up for every single plane. All your views, like, yeah. Oh, I get that. A day will come, you'll be bored out of your tree, and you'll say to yourself, right, I want to give myself nothing but hardship. And then you'll sit down and you'll go at it. Because I honestly, I think it's brilliant. Wabby says, for me, the camera just randomly freaks out sometimes. Also, if you set up an internal cockpit view as a cinematic view, it's CTDs. Oh, really? Interesting. You can lock down a chase plane. Sweet. It's experimental, to be fair. You know, they're calling it experimental, so as Colonel Fork rightly says, potential for him, you know. Maybe give it a bit of time and see how it behaves, you know. I like it though. I mean, it's I think it's a great bit of kit. Yeah, Big Al, 100%. Yeah. How do I install Chase Plane on 24? You just download it from Parallel 42. It's a relatively straightforward installer. I like the idea of Chase Plane, but what I want is a simple button for a flyby. I made the decision years ago. At a young 7-year-old, I said to myself, I want a life of frustration and hardship. Let's start flight sim as a hobby. Never looked back. Osplay, good to see you, Shane. Yeah, we all like, you know, It's like that scene out of the life of Brian, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? Crucifixion? No, they said they made a mistake and I'm free to go. Only joking. Yep. Jeez, look right over the forest here now. This is fantastic. D2, we're on the Southeast Asian server. Tried a few years ago, couldn't get over the setup. Following your stream, especially questions and confusion as you set it up, really helped. Oh, nice. Extra giant. Cheers, man. Yeah, like, look at lads. If there's any, you know, if you ever need help setting things up or, you know, let me know. Just kind of shout. What I do like about Chaseplane, like, it does have the flyby mode. That's a single button. You don't need to configure that at all. Right? And then you have the cinematic button. You don't need to configure that at all. Right? And for each and every aircraft setting up your views, I've created base views on one aircraft, meaning that's my number 4 key, that's my number 6 key, that's my 7, that's my 5, that's my 0, my 1, 2, 3, right? These are the same across every aircraft that I have. And all I need to do is I import them, they override all the existing views that Chaseplane has, and then if I need to, I just go in and make small adjustments and say, no, move the camera forward a bit or bring it back a bit. Takes about 5 minutes. But you do have to do it on every aircraft. But once you do it, that's it. They're done. You'll never again need to reset your views. What can be a pain in the ass when the sim updates or you reinstall it, you could lose your views. So you have to go off and do it again. You know what I mean? So it's asking me to purchase it, but I have it on 2020. There's an upgrade path. So you have to buy it again. I think it's like I think it's $2. Am I right in saying that, lads? Is Chaseplane $2? I can't remember. If you had it already, it's like a $2 update. And you can export all your views as well. So you can have like community camera presets, you know what I mean? Now, here's the gaff. Brilliant, we're here. This only took a few minutes. Jesus. Let us check this one out. You know, with buttons. Was it this one? No, definitely not that one at all. Jesus, Murphy, your buttons. Let's go with this one. Oh, it's a free upgrade. There you go. Free upgrade. Free. Napoleon's gaff. Take it easy, Oz. We'll see you soon, buddy. Jeez, isn't it very fancy? Isn't this very fancy? Is it now? Don't make a mess of it, Murph. Oz is getting a new GPU. What are you getting? So the imperial residence of Napoleon. As emperor as well. That's mad, lads, isn't it? Deadly. 5090, mind yourself. Man, that's class looking. Right. Onwards and upwards. We're on the move again. All the gaps on the ground. Right, where are we going? We're heading now to Versailles. Yes. Ramble up the road here to Versailles, and this will take a minute now, so we'll try and go, you know, relatively kind of high speed if we can. But you wouldn't know your luck, do you know what I mean? Ooh. Run out. Easy now. Easy now. Right, we'll do one of these. Shut up, Muse! There was method in me madness, right? Because I had to do it this way. To be fair, right? This is how we explore. Yes, we go all the far places. It makes total sense. As we head back up to Versailles. Sure it does. I mean, think of the sense of adventure, right? We went all the way down and all the way back up again. Easy now. Yeah, that explains it. Yes, totally explains it. Easy now. Now we do have a bit of a journey now, so, you know, keep her lit. Some more trimmage. Doc Watchtower, welcome in, buddy. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're well. I'll come back 2 hours later, yeah. No, it made sense. Look, it was a... Well, you know, we start... What the hell was that? We started off here, and we went up the way, all around the way, right? Then we went up this to here, back down to there, all the way out to Napoleon's gaff, you know, there. Now we're heading completely the wrong way, and we go 33 miles up to the Palace of Versailles, and then it's back into the airport. Brilliant routing, do you know? Total science. Stu, man yourself. He goes via the pub, 100%. 100%.
Oh, behave.
Whoa! In BNJ. Thank you very, very much indeed. Welcome in, man. Wing Commander, Mother Edge. Yeah, hang on a second. Buttons have been pressed here, lads. Over on YouTube. Jay, thank you very, very much indeed. Cheers, buddy. Welcome to the Wing Commander. It's the same route cab drivers take us. Yes, Heisenberg, that is exactly it. If Murphy was a taxi driver, yeah, I'll bring you around Paris. Yep, no problem at all. We're going this way first and then the other way. You know what I mean? Jay, that's amazing support, dude. Thank you very, very much indeed. Cheers, man. Holidays with me are loads of fun. Yeah. Oh, they are. Loads of fun. Yeah. You go up the road, down the road, across the road. I did drive around Paris before. Jay Winokur, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. Happy Christmas, mate. Need to go right a bit. There we go. What's happening down there? Hi! What are you? You landed in a golf course! Oh, we found a helipad in the golf course. Oh, that's very fancy, isn't it? There's a helipad in a golf course. Or maybe it's the dune, I don't know. But that's where they went. That's why first thing you tell the taxi driver when you get in the car is, I've been here before. Yeah. New to Microsoft Flight Sim World, thrilled to join you from Nashville. Thank you very much indeed. Dude, you're most welcome. I put out a video today on YouTube, and it's ironically it goes about smoothness, although things have been relatively smooth. So have a look at that and let me know if it helps you, because I do need to start peddling a bit more of the old YouTube content. I default to live streaming because I've too much fun during a live stream. I love this. I love getting to fly with you guys, hanging out, seeing this. You know, I love this. But every now and again, I'll have to put out an old video. So we put out a video today. So, Jay Winokur, it really is. It really is. So I've a lot more videos to make. I've wrote out a big list of stuff there today of different VODs and stuff I'm going to be adding to the channel. And yeah, I need to do like shorts and all that as well. Oh, so much effort. I would turn on the computer, let's go flying. Right. Now tomorrow morning we're doing something very different. We're over in X-Plane tomorrow. And we're going to be flying in the Airfoil Labs 172 over in X-Plane. Bit of on-air operations. And what else we doing? Colin Tree, welcome in. Short videos about your short hands or your small hands. Shorts are usually quick edits. Yeah. Rather than just run auto FPS and be done with it. You could do that. But with Flight Sim 2024, auto FPS isn't necessarily what it used to be. You know what I mean? It does work, but not in the greatest ways as it used to. Jesus, what's that down there, look? That looks terribly official. Colin Tree is your other handle. Aha! Thank you very much indeed. Octavi, welcome in. But yeah, there's other kind of there's a load of other videos I want to do. But like the idea of the videos I'm doing, at least for now, or the ones I'm trying to do for now, it's a lot of folks probably know already, but they're very much targeted to say, look, that's how you get to this setting, or this is what the impact of that setting does. You know what I mean? And that was the idea of today's video. Like, I think there's a lot of videos out there that will show you do this for better performance. All right, I'll do that, but not fully understanding what that actually is. You know, so I thought it might be helpful. Well, look, these are the settings that, you know, damage your performance. If you're getting bad performance, this is what's causing it. You know what I mean? Let me see. Jen Stars, thank you very much indeed. Good evening. New to the game, have a question. When in free flight mode, how can you set the nearest airport on your GPS? It depends on what GPS unit you're using, right? So you would put the airport, they have what's called an ICAO code, right? It's a 4-letter identifier, mostly 4-letter identifier for different airports. So you can use things like SkyVector. If you're just starting off, right? SkyVector is a brilliant free resource for flight planning, right? I'll share the link. So if you go into SkyVector, this is our upcoming flight on Friday. But what you can do, you open its map, and if you hover over any of these kind of points, you'll see the 4-letter identifier. Dublin, for example, EIDW, Echo India Delta Whiskey. But it's global, worldwide. So you can say, right, well, I want to fly from, you know, let's say Hebron up to, I don't know, to Kema. So it's going to say, well, here's one ICAO code, here's your next ICAO code. So you can actually put that in to your GPS where you can, you know, you'll see what the numbers are. If you're unsure how to use the GPS, it's an old video now, but there is one on my YouTube as well. Where is that now? I'll give you the link to it. Autopilot for general aviation. Here's one here. This is an old video, but it's, as I call it, it's evergreen. It should still work. So have a look at that. That's going to show you how to use the kind of like the default G1000 and a 430 as well. And it's basically setting up, you know, your flight plan, your autopilot mode, all that kind of jazz. So have a look at that one and see how you get on. Captain Erling, good to see you, buddy. Welcome in. EGS, welcome in. Yeah, so maybe have a look at that. Let me know if it helps. And if you need any other help, well, just give us a shout. We're always on Discord, live streaming here every day, Monday to Friday, usually twice a day. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of what our community is about, which is mad, right? Because it's so vast in terms of different backgrounds, different experience levels, and everyone is very helpful. Folks are great at helping each other, which is phenomenal to see. I mean, if I'm stuck on stuff, you guys put me right. If I find something, I'm only too happy to share. And it's all about, you know, this wonderful hobby that we have in flight simulation. You know, how can we make the experience better? What can we add to it? What else can we do to give us a good time in the sim? And you know, for me, that's community. That's all about that. It's folks helping each other out, flying together, exploring places together. Like it's class. Like it really is. There is nothing else that gives you this on this level. Do you know? Anywhere. Muse had a CGD. Drummer, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. Happy Christmas. You're in 1 minute and you learned. Nice. There's loads of phenomenal content on YouTube as well. Like, so my advice to anyone: watch as much as you can from everyone. Really, everyone's going to have their own take on it or their way of explaining things. You know what I mean? Tubas Tunes, thank you very much. Welcome in. But like, I absolutely adore this hobby. I love flight simulation. I love what Microsoft have done since 2020 and 2024. Yes, it is very it's frustrating when it comes to things like model matching and, you know, stuttering and performance and all this kind of stuff. We just kind of have to roll with it until they have it ready. But for any kind of issues and weirdness, it's still awesome. It really is, you know? Eddie, take care, buddy. Like, it's still amazing, you know? Blame Murph. Yeah, blame Murph, 100%. Gene, I can't stalk and help at the same time. No multitasking. Black Sheep Gene, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. Right, we're nearly at Versailles. Ah, brilliant. Like, it blows my mind. Like, here we are, right? I'm in Tipperary in Ireland, and you guys are where you guys are, right? Everywhere. And yet we're all together flying in France. You gotta love that. Learning about Napoleon, granted, okay, might not be everyone's cup of tea, but that's what we do on Monday nights. It's a series. It's either history or it's a thing, right? That's what we do on Mondays. Tomorrow night now we're doing F1. Ah, brilliant. With damage. Right? That's going to be hilarious crack. We have a daytime stream tomorrow on X-Plane. Wednesday night we have Flight Sim News, which covers all the news from, well, everywhere we can find of what's going on. And our Wednesday night stream is New Year's Eve. My plan is, once we're finished, we'll head on over and raid Ali, because Ali's doing an all-day stream. Malky says, watching YouTube was how I came across the EFB trick. Yeah, it's awesome. Is Junior planning on... yeah, probably in the Impossible Face, yes, probably. I'm looking forward to it. We haven't done F1 in a little bit. And we get into trucking and all that as well again. Then on Thursday, another double header. We're flying... we're doing our Navigraph Academy stuff on Thursday morning, right? So that's... Thursday daytime streams, they're very much going to be aimed at pilot training, teaching you aviation. And, you know, as gently as I can say, there's real world stuff we can follow. There's sim stuff we can follow. There's a barrel load of stuff we can follow. Thursday night we have our VATSIM flight, taking the 737 out for a jaunt. And then on Friday night, we're flying in Scotland this week for the Coast Guard. Always exhausted after watching F1 streams, right? Trippy, good to see you. Just finished studying. What did I miss? All is well in the realm. Promos just updated yesterday. Ah, right. Yeah, I'll have to do that then over the weekend. We'll probably do driving next Tuesday. Right, we're close. We're very close. I imagine in January they'll probably start pushing out the betas for Sim Update 5. Be interesting to see what's coming next, right? Angry Lou, good to see you. You're looking for a new headset. What do I use and would you suggest the same? Kieran Niall, thank you very much indeed for the super sticker. So I use, what are these called? They're the Nova Arctis something. They're from Steel Series. And it's the, what were they called? They're not the DAB audio. I think they're the Nova Pro wireless. Now they're expensive, but these are excellent. These are excellent. Arctis Nova Pro. That's them, Malky. Put the headset back on. Is it that bad? Is it? Murphy has ears. Ah, jeez. Right. But yeah, these headphones, they're fantastic. The batteries last for ages, and there's a little battery in here in the ear, right? So you can pop this out, plug it in, take the other battery, pop it in. I got about 6 hours, 7 hours on a battery, and they're wireless as well. So prior to this, I had other headphones. I had the DAB audio wireless, and then the other ones I have over there, which are wired, which are also great. But you go to stand up and you walk out, and you drag them with them, you know. I use the AKG Studio Cans and a condenser mic. I consider a gaming headset at some point. Yeah, like gaming headsets are grand and all, but like the mic audio isn't going to be great. Audio Technica are awesome. I really like the Steel Series stuff. I think the sound quality is brilliant. The bass is really strong in them as well. This is like my third set from like Steel Series. Like I like them. They're good. They're costly, but they last. But yeah, the Nova Pro is these. Bose are really good. Bose are overpriced for what they are. You know what I mean? Also have a set of Mackie Studio monitors. Ooh, nice. Yeah, the Nova 7s are awesome. And they're considerably cheaper than these guys, and they're very good. Very, very good. Right. Easy now. As we approach Versailles. Easy now. Had your Corsair series 8 years. The HS series. Still going strong. I had a set of Corsairs. What were they called? They were actually very good. The Corsair ones. Venom or something, I think they were called. They were good. Alright, easy now. Easy. Watch your speed. There is the Palace of Versailles. Oh yeah, look at that, man. That's awesome. That's very cool. That's not cool at all. I know! We're at 135,000 feet. Doing Mach bloody 6. What in the name?
They've done studies, you know. 60% of the time, it works. Every time.
Listen. There's nothing to see here.
Who's in charge? You haven't a clue what you're doing.
thinks we're only at 6. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of a Muppet. His continuing mission to seek out new life and new civilizations, to break the sim, to boldly go that way. This is ridiculous. Whoosh. Whoosh. Right, words cannot explain the strangeness and the weirdities. It's going to take 134. Right. It's only making it worse. Oh, Jesus. This reminds me of the Blériot incident. I mean, I've no control. Who's in charge? The thing's tagged. How do we fix this? Oh, that's making me dizzy. Right. Let's end this flight, right? And we'll load back in. Where are we? We're supposed to be over here. We'll load back in over at the Palace of Versailles. Be careful, there's some sort of a weird alien slingshot that will, you know what I mean? Right. Daytime, please. Yes. Fortunately, those helicopters have front nose designed by NASA. Brilliant. It'll be grand, totally fine. Used to me have a... Right. Let's just see what happens here, right? The Romulans messing around again. It's always the Romulans. Even when it was the Cardassians, we knew it was the Romulans. Right. Come hither. Now don't. Oh. Easy. We're alive. All is well in the realm. Things are looking... There it is, look. Yes. Jesus. Hang on, we'll fix it. Right, now, lads, right. Where are we? Oh, yeah. So, as we leave Versailles, beautiful. Look at the lovely rivers and lakes and stuff, you know. We shall leave Versailles. Come on, Chopper, you can do it. Easy. Easy. And we'll head back to the airport. Thus concluding our perfectly normal flight that had expert flight planage and nothing weird happened at all. Right? Am I pulling an all-nighter? Are you mad, Zard? We have another stream to do in the morning. We're just leaving Versailles. It's haunted. Jesus, lads. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Can I get a refund?
No. Shag off. No refunds. Where are we going? Oh, yeah, we're going this way. Right, easy now. Normal flight. Yeah. Jesus. Oh, look at her speed, sure. Easy now. I mean, the historical accuracy tonight, that's exactly what happened to Napoleon. He was taken with the Romulans, you know. Right. Back to Paris, Orly we go. Look at all the antennas and stuff. If you're in Versailles, consider renting a bicycle to see the grounds. Indeed. That's how he was exiled. Yeah. He didn't go out to a distant, island. Not at all. He went to Romulus, there's Rex. Look out, Rex. There's Mr. TPHI. There's Heisenberg. Now, I'm not saying it was aliens. But it was aliens, right? Where am I going? I'm going the wrong way. Down this way a bit. Up, you devil. Yes. All is better. Except for the sounds, but all is better. Easy. Easy. Try and get me trims kind of reset. That's better. Easy. Oh, look at the lovely cathedral there. Is it out? Yes. Look at the buildings. They're mad looking. Look at the colours on the buildings. Strange. Damn funny. Stanley Kubrick's project to do Napoleon and the fake moon landings in one stream, right? Yeah, thanks, Stu. Yeah, we finally got down off our heightened sense of, you might want to mention it to maintenance. Yeah. I hear a jet. Did you just hear the jet? Jesus. That's probably the French military wondering, who are you? And how did you get here? Right, there's the airport. All is well in the realm. Speaking of, I'm still building my Starship Enterprise from Lego. Yes. I'm working on the warp nacelles now. They're tricky. I don't think I'd be any crack now building Lego. I can get very frustrated with Lego. Stupid thing. But I must bring it in to show you. And not drop it. Right? I'll bring it in one of the days. The Hilo suddenly appeared on radar, launched the fighters. Right? But then they couldn't because French ATC were on strike. Oh, don't go there! All is well. Nothing to worry about at all. We're approaching the airport. We shall set it down. I'm also using the Pyreeg European vehicles. The cars do look way better, by the way. Leeds? Viper, I thought you were an Everton man. Is it now? Totsky, some great flying again, my dude. Get the replacement sticker for the Enterprise. What do you mean the replacement sticker? Replacement sticker? Fazilla, good to see you, bud. No, it has, Jesus, there's Colonel Fork in a Mirage. Well, I think it's a Mirage. It looks like a Mirage. Colonel Fork, are you in a Mirage? Is it now? They misspelled boldly. Huh? I am in a Mirage. Come on, Colonel Fork. I was doing a bit of eating. Was referencing the LFC command and replacing it with their opponents. Aston, good to see you. Your game looks so smooth and better than mine. You got a map mod or something? Aston, check out my latest YouTube video. That should help with the smoothness. Hopefully it works for you as well. But thank you for saying so. Right, where are we going? We're going over here a little bit. Easy now. Easy. There's cars driving all around the shop. Have you turned the helicopter vortex ring stay protection off in assistance?
Hello there.
I didn't. Todd, thank you following in. Yellow sticker for the bridge has a typo. No way. I didn't even get that far yet, Fazilla. I must check though. Easy. Easy. Gently does it. Lead off the speed. Good luck in the cup. Yes. Easy. See? There's my Aviation. Easy now. Oh, the noise of that jet. Right, an airfly here to Orly. It was turned on in Sim Update 4. Stops helis from landing right. Is it an option in... Oh, it's in... Jesus. It's in the assistance, is it? Oh, I need to check that. I'll have to check that, Big Al. Thanks for the heads up, buddy. Right, well, we've landed. I can't say we did it well, but we landed. Alright. Beautiful. You go off. 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 Excellent choice. Yeah, I'll have to check it out for sure. Right, that was a mad one, wasn't it? We covered many talkings of learning and things. We spoke a lot about Napoleon now tonight, naturally, but we covered an awful lot of ground. So I thank you for putting up with the talkage. There was a lot of it tonight, and our route as well. But yeah, like these are like the notes. It's ridiculous. Like a 41,000 friggin' words. All of our Napoleon stuff. What we're doing next week, we're off into Spain, and we're going to be flying in the TBM. So looking forward to that one already. But it's always great to jump back into the helos. I do enjoy flying the 125 from Cow Sim. I think it's one of their best. Plus I've flown in this chopper in real life a few times. The Asoba one isn't bad though. I might need to jump back into that one as well. The MH60, I really need to take that out for a spin. I haven't flown that in a while. We were in the Alouette on Sunday, which I enjoyed. So yeah, we'll definitely have more chopper stuff coming soon, lads. And yeah, my plan now tomorrow, we're going to be flying. We're back in the world of X-Plane tomorrow morning, doing some on-air stuff in a Cessna 172. We'll probably take out November 80991 and see what sort of fun we can have there. Tomorrow night we're going to be doing some F1. Then Wednesday we have the news. Thursday we have our Navigraph Academy and our Vatson flight, Denver to Las Vegas. Ooh. And then on Friday night we're in the 406, the Caravan 2, as we're flying in Scotland, heading up to Sumbra, which I'm looking forward to. Malky's finger slipped. You got the MH60. Nice, man. Nice. Assidious, thank you very, very much indeed. Fibro, thank you very much. We covered a lot of ground, both planned and not planned. Or planned. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, loads of fun as always. Guys, thank you so very much for taking part, for joining in and keeping me company over the last couple of hours. As I said, next week we're off to Spain. And we follow what is the chapter called The Spanish Ulcer. Yes. And we'll learn more about that. But we'll see you tomorrow, 1100 Zulu time. That's when we're going to be live. Hope you can join me. And if not, hopefully we catch you then tomorrow night. So, Intercrosser, thank you very much indeed for the follow. So, lads, have a lovely evening. Thank you also very, very much indeed for tuning in, for all the support. As always, it's absolutely incredible and greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much indeed. And yeah, we'll catch you tomorrow at 1100 Zulu. Till then, you take care. You didn't use your indicators. Electricity must be expensive in your truck, is it? Christ! Oh no, a terrible accident! Jesus! Did you Did you Oh, I nearly passed out of the laughter. Did you just see what happened? Jesus! That's straight away. Do you like me, Podge and Raj? You ever see Podge and Raj, did you?
With all me own teeth. That's the back of me sack.
Jesus, I didn't think you'd say that. Right, anyway, that's enough of them. Right, we'll get into it anyway, will we? Come on over here with For a warbird, it's one of the finest warbirds ever released in Microsoft Flight Simulator, considering you have the excellent work of Flying Iron. This thing, because of the extra features, because of the optimization, because of how well it looks and sounds, even flying this thing gives you an experience you probably haven't got already in the sim when it comes to flying a warbird. It feels heavy. It feels cumbersome. It behaves differently. And there's a lot of depth to it. It's a cracker. It's a masterpiece. Oh, I never did the thing, look.
It's all right.